Chapter 131. The morning sun shines through the window into the room. Yufei looked in the mirror and carefully checked her makeup. When she found that there were no flaws, she put on a charming smile and walked out of the room with light steps. Along the way, everyone in the auction house looks at Yufei with admiration and infatuation. This makes Yufei's heart feel very comfortable. However, in the next moment, she remembers the last time she was humiliated in front of that young man. What do you mean the smell of a mistress is too strong? What do you mean I don't have the bearing of a wife? Yufei bitterly clenches her teeth, wishing she could catch that guy and give him a good beating. But thinking about that guy's background and the possibility that he is related to shrouding Heaven Great Emperor, Yufei can only think about it in her heart. Miss, at this time, Medicine Master Gunai runs over with a panicked expression, anxiously shouting at Yufei, as if he's been frightened by something. What's wrong? Yufei slightly frowns. Her evaluation of Gunai has dropped a bit. So old. How can he still be so impatient? If he is not calm at all, it will be difficult for him to achieve great things. Miss, that person is here. That person is here. Gunai frantically says to Yufei, his words somewhat incoherent. That person? Who? Yufei's frown deepens. Her tone is somewhat unhappy. What kind of person is worth you being so nervous? Within the Jia Ma Empire, my primer family has never feared anyone. Who dares to cause trouble here? No, no. Gunai's face is somewhat anxious. Miss, say no more. Yufei's face is very unhappy, waving her hand to interrupt Gunai's words. Take me there. I want to see who it is. No need. I'm already here. A voice comes from the corridor in front, followed by the sound of footsteps. A group of people appears in front of Yufei. The leader of the group was a young man with a golden crown on his head and a white robe. He was tall and slender. Behind the young man stands a young man with dark green hair, wearing a blue robe. Following behind him are 3 men and 2 women, 5 tall and straight figures. It's you? Seeing the young man leading the group, Yufei's face changes. Her heart is filled with anger and hatred. You brat, bold, lowly servant. How dare you be rude to young master? Before Yufei could finish her words, the green-haired young man in green robes glared at her, and a vast aura that seemed to contain the power of heaven and earth swept out like a storm. Yufei felt as if she were a small boat in the middle of a stormy sea. She felt as if she could drown at any moment. Yufei's face was deathly pale, and she was trembling all over. The following words were suppressed before they could leave his mouth. Pharmacist Gunai, who was standing next to Yufei, had an even more unsightly expression on his face as he almost collapsed to the ground. Ancient tree, forget it. Liu smiled and waved his hand. The ancient tree immediately retracted its monstrous aura. With Gu Shu's strength as a Do-Di, even if he only revealed a little bit of his aura, it was not something that Yufei and Gunai could resist. Phew! Whoosh! The ancient tree's aura vanished, and only then did Yufei and Gunai gasp for breath, their faces pale as they straightened up. What are you doing? A person with such a cultivation level was actually only Li Yu's follower, and behind him were 5 equally powerful subordinates. Li Yu's background was already unimaginable. In the face of this situation, even Yufei, who prided herself on her extraordinary means, only felt a burst of powerlessness. In the face of absolute strength, any means were meaningless. What am I doing? Ha! Li Yu's heart suddenly gave birth to a bit of evil, and he felt as if he was a bully. Of course it's... Li Yu's face carried a trace of a strange smile, and with a wave of his hand, a folding fan appeared in his hand. Holding the folding fan, Li Yu gently lifted Yufei's chin and smiled. Of course it's... Yufei's beautiful face turned pale with fright, and she staggered, almost falling down. All right, I won't tease you anymore. Li Yu smiled and shook his head. Putting away the folding fan in his hand, he pointed at Yufei. Beauty, how about working for me? Hearing Li Yu's words, Yufei obviously did not react. It's like this. I plan to set up an auction but I'm lacking an auctioneer. You could be my auctioneer. How about that? Auctioneer? Me? Yafei had no idea what Li Yu was doing and pointed at herself with a puzzled expression on her face. Is there a problem? Li Yu looked at Yafei with a half-smile. You. Yafei was a little flustered, and after a while, she recovered. Then where's your auction? That's a problem. Li Yu blinked, as if he had never thought about having an auction. Yafei was completely speechless. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? All right. Li Yu turned his head to look at Yafei's auction and smiled. Your auction is not bad. Then I'll use your auction. Yafei's eyes widened, and she glanced at the terrifying figures beside Li Yu, feeling extremely wronged. Are you robbing me? You're too much of a bully. Don't look so sad. Li Yu pursed her lips and glared at Yafei. You can't find such a good thing even with a lantern. Yafei raised her head to look at Li Yu, and then lowered her head, not daring to speak. She looked like a little wife who was angry but did not dare to speak. TCH. Li Yu waved his hand at Gushu. Gushu, let her see our auction list. Yes. Gushu walked in front of Yafei and handed over a list filled with words. Auction list? Yafei took the list suspiciously, and when she looked down, she could not help but scream in horror. Heaven-class battle technique? 9th grade pill. Heavenly flame. Each scream was louder than the last, and Li Yu could not help but pick his ears. He smiled and said, How is it? It's not a loss to be an auctioneer, right? These things are all peerless treasures. You really have these things? Yafei took a deep breath, and only then did she calm down. Li Yu's background must be extremely terrifying, but could these things be taken out so casually? No matter how great his background was, he could not just casually take them out for auction, right? TCH, what peerless treasures. They're all junk. Li Yu pursed his lips in disdain and waved at Mu Qing, who was in charge of the auction items. Mu Qing opened their eyes. Yes. Mu Qing stepped forward, and with a wave of her hand, a bronze box appeared in her hand. Look carefully. Mu Qing smiled and opened the box. A misty blue flame surged up, and a huge heat wave made the surrounding air scorch fiercely. Green lotus. Earth fire? It really is a heavenly flame. It really is a heavenly flame. Medicine Master Guanai saw the flame and immediately shouted, You really have these things? Yafei looked at Li Yu, and her eyes were filled with horror. Heavenly flames are all junk? This person's background is simply unimaginable. Chapter 132. I'm willing to be the auctioneer. To be able to casually take out a treasure like the heavenly flame for auction, this was already proof of Li Yu's wealth. Behind him were a few strong subordinates. This was already proof of Li Yu's strength. At this time, Yafei was already looking forward to this auction house. Becoming the auctioneer of this auction house was indeed an opportunity. Leaving the capital city to come to this small rural town, Yafei wanted to stand out. She wanted to have the right to speak in her family, so that she would no longer be manipulated by others. Now, this opportunity was right in front of her. I can hand over my auction house to you. Yafei smiled sweetly, stretching out her hand and pointing around the auction house. This auction house, whether it's the architectural design or the scale, it's all meticulously built by me. I'll give you this auction house, but I want the shares. Ha ha! Hearing Yafei's words, Li Yu could not help but laugh. To be honest, I don't care about your auction house at all. With these things in my hands, I could just use this cave as an auction house, and people will still come. All right. Yafei was once again dejected. Li Yu's words were the truth. Moreover, compared to Li Yu's things, the value of her auction house was negligible. All right, I don't have any shares, but in the future, this auction house can be handed over to you. It was rare for Li Yu to be generous. In fact, this had nothing to do with being generous. Li Yu had asked Yafei to manage the auction house mainly because he had wanted to turn the city into an auction house on a whim, but none of his subordinates knew how to run an auction house. There were countless spirits in the tomb of heaven, and there was a lot of knowledge extracted from them, but which expert knew how to run an auction house? Thus, Yufei was the best candidate. Hand over to me to manage? Yufei was excited when she heard Li Yu's words. With these resources, with these strength, Yufei could make this auction house the world's #1 auction house. The manager of the world's #1 auction house. No power or person in this world would dare to underestimate her. I'll hand it over to you. Li Yu smiled and nodded. Great. Yufei smiled from ear to ear. Her whole body was like a delicate flower, blooming brilliantly. Yes. Now, get everyone in the auction house to leave. I want to refine this auction house again. Li Yu instructed Yufei, then waved his hand, indicating that Yufei should go out and arrange things. Yes. Yufei hurriedly brought Gu and I out to arrange for the auction house staff to leave the auction house. Master Gu and I, did he just say that he wanted to refine the auction house? Do you know what's going on? Yufei asked Gu and I as she arranged for people to leave. I'm not too sure either. Gu and I shook his head, then guessed, I've heard that powerful alchemists can also refine other things. I don't know if it's related to this. Is that so? Yufei frowned slightly, then smiled. Since I'm already working for him, there's no need to find out more. A moment later, everyone in the auction house left. Since there are no outsiders, let's begin. Li Yu chuckled and ordered the system. Use this auction house as the foundation. Use the dragon, phoenix, and battle-sage skeletons as the materials to construct a shopping center. Order accepted. Shopping center construction beginning. Following the system's rigid tone, the dragon, phoenix, and battle-sage skeletons in the warehouse instantly melted into a pure white jade-like substance. An invisible wave enveloped the entire auction house, and the white jade-like substance from the skeletons quickly integrated into the construction of the auction house. With a slight trembling sound, the entire auction house turned into a building that looked like it was carved out of white jade, sparkling and translucent under the sunlight. Wow! Outside the auction house, Yufei and the others saw this scene and cried out in shock. He actually refined the entire auction house. What kind of strength is this? Gu and I opened his mouth wide and couldn't close it for a long time. He was completely stunned by this scene. Master Gu and I, do you think his strength? Yufei asked Gu and I with a shocked face. I don't know. I originally thought he was a descendant or disciple of a battle emperor, but looking at his method of refining the entire auction house, this is not something a disciple can do. Unless, Gu and I looked at Yufei and said with some hesitation, unless he is a battle emperor himself? Yufei's face was full of shock, as she couldn't speak for a long time. In the auction house, under the power of the system, the entire auction house was directly transformed into a shopping center. The white jade-like substance from the dragon, phoenix, and battle-sage skeletons integrated into the auction house, making it look like it was carved out of jade. A faintly discernible aura lingered in the auction house, faintly emitting a clear cry like the cry of a phoenix. Using the remnant soul of the ancient heavenly phoenix here, there's actually a pleasant surprise. The remnant soul of the heavenly phoenix actually integrated with the shopping center's AI system and became something like a guardian spirit. Li Yu glanced around and was very satisfied with this sparkling jade-like auction house. Shopping center construction completed. User, please set the relevant functions of the shopping center. System notification. The location anchoring function of the shopping center cannot be canceled. User, please do not delete this function. Okay. Next is to set the relevant functions. Li Yu smiled and nodded. As for deleting the location anchoring function, he wasn't stupid. If the main function of the shopping center was deleted, would it still be a shopping center? I built this shopping center in the form of an auction house. Then it must have the function of an auction house. Li Yu reached out and touched the white jade-like wall, thinking for a while, and immediately came up with an idea. There must be a resource warehouse. A small resource warehouse similar to the host system. Li Yu's mouth curved into a smile. With this resource warehouse, resource appraisal, resource recovery, resource storage, resource decomposition, resource refining, resource manufacturing, all these functions are available. With this small resource warehouse, most of the problems of the auction house can be solved. Apart from that, I only need to set the authority. The system immediately opened a small resource warehouse in the shopping center according to Li Yu's request. Then there's the authority. First of all, the highest authority can only be me. Secondly, give ancient tree and the 5 puppets a lower level of authority. At this point, Li Yu looked out of the window of the auction house and smiled. As for Yafei and the employees, only the basic authority will be set. They will only have the authority to live and move freely. Of course, Li Yu wouldn't really give the auction house to Yafei. The key location of the shopping center would naturally be controlled by Ancient Tree and the others. Yafei only needed to manage the auction house. Add guest authority. Only allow the auction house to move freely. Function setting complete. Authority setting complete. Input complete. Dear user, congratulations. Your first shopping center has been built. Haha, very good. In an instant, Li Yu clearly felt that this shopping center had a close connection with his shopping center space. Now, he could directly transfer the materials stored in the shopping center space from the shopping center. Like before, when he needed a low-level weapon, he forgot to bring it over, and teleporting it over would consume a lot of energy. Now that he had built the shopping center, Li Yu could teleport materials from the shopping center space as long as he wanted. He didn't have to worry about this problem anymore. Chapter 133. Wu Yuan City's auction house had undergone a huge change. However, the people who did not know the truth discussed for a few days and only treated it as a refurbishment. Although it looked very high-end, they did not pay too much attention to it. However, the appearance of this auction house would definitely have a huge impact on the entire world. However, this world-shocking existence was still hibernating. Teacher, you want me to go to Dragon Island? After Xiao Feng returned to the Win Alliance, he used Tendo Zun puppets and Tendo Zone puppets to suppress the situation and completely became the strongest force in the Black Corner region. No one dared to provoke him. However, Xiao Feng had not even warmed up his seat when the Supreme Elixir Spirit wanted him to set off again. Yes, the Supreme Elixir Spirit's voice was very determined. Xiao Feng, you must make a trip to Dragon Island. You must increase your strength as soon as possible. Your current strength is still too weak. All right. Hearing the Supreme Elixir Spirit's words, Xiao Feng had no room to refute. After returning from the ancient ruins, Xiao Feng had refined the Dragon Soul and merged it into the Dragon Elephant Vajra strength. This not only allowed him to advance to the Dozone realm, but it also allowed him to gain the strength of an ancient void dragon out of thin air. With Xiao Feng's current strength, he could completely crush an ordinary Dozone. Even if it was an elite Dozone, who would win and who would lose would only be known after a fight. However, in the Supreme Elixir Spirit's eyes, this kind of strength was still too weak. My improvement still can't satisfy teacher? Looks like I have to work harder. Xiao Feng secretly made up his mind. After greeting Medusa and the others, Xiao Feng followed the Supreme Elixir Spirit's instructions and once again embarked on an unknown journey. Dragon Island was very far away. More importantly, Dragon Island was hidden in the void. If one was not a member of the Dragon Tribe, it was impossible to find the location of Dragon Island. Of course, Xiao Feng did not need to worry about this problem. Although the Dragon Soul had died for a long time, the strength of the soul was still very strong and the remaining memories were relatively complete. The Supreme Elixir Spirit directly extracted the memories of the Dragon Soul and immediately found the location of Dragon Island. More importantly, ancient void dragons were naturally very sensitive to spatial energy, and their control and use of spatial energy were very mature. As a result, there were many secret spatial passageways left behind by the dragons on the continent. The Supreme Pill Spirit had extracted the memories of the Dragon Soul. Naturally, he had also found these secret passageways. Xiao Feng activated his Battle Chi wings and flew away. Under the guidance of the Supreme Pill Spirit, he found the nearest secret passageway. Teacher, are you sure that the dragon race will place the spatial passage here? Xiao Feng turned his head and scanned his surroundings. Looking at the rotten swamp in front of him, he felt a little incredulous. He began to doubt the taste of the dragons. This spatial tunnel has been abandoned for countless years. It's not surprising that it's a little dilapidated. The Supreme Elixir Spirit smiled and appeared from the ring. He waved his hand at the void, and a colorful halo appeared in front of Xiaofeng. With the memories of the dragon soul, the Supreme Elixir Spirit only needed to mobilize energy. According to the method of the Dragon Clan, it could directly open this passage. Let's go. The Supreme Elixir Spirit waved his hand at Xiaofeng. His figure swayed and turned into a stream of light, tunneling into Xiaofeng's ring. Using the dragon race's spatial passageway, this is still the first time. Xiaofeng smiled and stepped into the halo. Buzz, brilliant light circulated and the halo instantly closed. In front of Xiaofeng was a strange passageway, flickering with faint silver light. The passageway could not see the end at a glance, extending into the endless depths of space. The silver light illuminated Xiaofeng's entire body. A tremendous force emerged from behind, pushing Xiaofeng along this passageway at top speed. The impact of the tremendous force made Xiaofeng feel heavy pressure. The corners of his mouth could not help twitching a few times. This force was very powerful. If not for Xiaofeng cultivating the Vajra art, and his body was already very strong, flying under this tremendous force, he would probably not be able to hold on for long and be seriously injured. The dragon race's spatial passageway is naturally prepared for the dragon race themselves. The Supreme Elixir Spirit laughed loudly. Brat, your body is the Vajra body. How can you not even withstand this bit of impact? Whoosh! Passing through a node that seemed to be the intersection of the passageways, the pushing force behind increased once more. An incomparably tremendous force collided fiercely onto Xiaofeng's body. With this, Xiaofeng already somewhat could not hold on anymore. Hurriedly activating the immovable like mountains divine ability, only then did he withstand this tremendous impact. In front of him, a silver halo of light flickered far away. After accelerating twice, Xiaofeng carried a tremendous force and absolute speed, charging fiercely into the silver halo of light. Boom! An earth-shaking loud noise rang out. It was as if heaven and earth were falling apart. A tremendous force rushed out from the halo of light, sweeping all around like a storm. Ong, roar, roar! A series of surprised and angry dragon roars rang out. One by one, giant dragons of different colors and shapes roared and rushed into the air. Their dragon eyes stared fixedly at the messy, floating island below. The look in their eyes was very unfriendly. After Xiaofeng rushed out of the halo of light, he shook his head and only recovered from the dizziness after a long time. When he raised his head, he discovered that he seemed to have become the target of public criticism. One by one, the giant dragons opened their dragon eyes angrily. Sparks spurted out from their nostrils as they stared fiercely at Xiaofeng. Monstrous ferocious might shook heaven and earth. In this, even with Xiaofeng's calmness, he was also quite frightened by this scene. No matter how strong and fierce he was, it was also impossible to fight with so many giant dragons in other people's lair. Human? It's actually a human? A silver giant dragon that was larger than the other giant dragons and seemed to be the leader lowered his head to look at Xiaofeng. A burst of surprise appeared in his shining silver eyes. A huge roar sounded above Xiaofeng's head. Human, who are you? Why are you using our dragon race's spatial passageway? And using this long, abandoned passageway? My name is Xiaofeng. Xiaofeng was very surprised to see that the dragon race didn't immediately attack him, and even spoke to him. Didn't they say that the dragon race was very arrogant? Didn't they say that the dragon race was very violent? It didn't seem to be the case. Xiaofeng, Xiao, someone from the Xiao clan? The silver dragon glanced at Xiaofeng and nodded his huge head slightly. He stretched out his claws and pointed at the messy, floating island. The huge voice sounded again. There's a problem with this passageway. Even the dragon race doesn't dare to use it. You came out of this passageway and didn't die from the shock. When did the Shao clan's body become stronger than our dragon race's body? I had some fortuitous encounters, and my body became stronger. The other clansmen don't have such strong bodies. No, you're wrong. The silver dragon interrupted Shao Feng's words. I don't care if your body is strong or not. I just want to tell you, you destroyed one of our floating islands. How do you plan to compensate? Roar, roar. Chapter 134. Cough, cough. Shao Feng coughed dryly a few times, feeling a little embarrassed for the damage he had caused. He was also a little uncomfortable with the Dragon Clan's straightforward and untactful way of claiming compensation. Let's not talk about compensation first. Let me first explain why I came to Dragon Island. Before Shao Feng could finish his words, he was interrupted by an earth-shattering dragon roar. Roar. Not going to compensate? The silver dragon let out a furious roar and pounced toward Shao Feng. It waved its huge dragon claw that flickered with a cold light and viciously slammed it down. Shao Feng was speechless. They didn't even wait for him to finish his words and directly started fighting. The Dragon Clan was the race that worshipped strength the most in this world. It was completely normal for them to start a fight without saying anything. Previously, because Shao Feng's appearance was too loud, the Dragon Clan couldn't figure out Shao Feng's strength. Therefore, they only said a few words to Shao Feng. When they found out that Shao Feng only had the strength of a dozone, the Dragon Clan naturally didn't hide their true colors. Since that's the case, we can only talk after fighting. Fighting with the Dragon Clan? It seemed to be worth a try. Shao Feng let out a loud roar towards the sky as a brilliant golden light bloomed from his body. He lowered his waist, sat on the horse, clenched his fist, and swung it. The illusionary image of a mountain with a golden light appeared, and a heavy mountain-like strength violently collided with the dragon claw that was slamming down from above. Boom! With Shao Feng's own mountain-moving strength in addition to the dragon strength obtained from refining a dragon's soul, he used the mountain-moving seal of the 9 mountain-moving seals. A punch was thrown out with a monstrous divine might. Roar! Even though the silver dragon's strength was shocking, it was still sent flying by Shao Feng's punch and rushed into the air. However, the silver dragon was a dozun after all. In addition to the strong body of the Dragon Clan, Shao Feng didn't use his full strength in this attack. Therefore, although the silver dragon was sent flying, its claws were only numb and it didn't suffer any injuries. Roar, roar, roar. The Dragon Clan revered strength, but there was no rule of one-on-one combat. Seeing that the silver dragon seemed to have suffered a small loss, the surrounding dragons immediately roared furiously. A scorching dragon's breath condensed, and its sharp claws flashed with a cold light. Dragon Phoenix Origin Fruit. Seeing that the situation was about to take a turn for the worse, Shao Feng did not have the confidence to take on all the giant dragons on Dragon Island by himself. He hurriedly shouted out the word that was enough to shock the Dragon Clan. Dragon Phoenix Origin Fruit. Hearing these words, all of the dragons present were shocked. They stopped what they were doing and stared at Shao Feng with their eyes full of surprise. The battle had stopped before it even started. Ha ha! Supreme Dan's spirit laughed loudly in Shao Feng's mind. Shao Feng, brat. I thought you were going to overturn the entire Dragon Island by yourself. I don't have that ability. Shao Feng smiled bitterly and helplessly. With Shao Feng's current strength, he could even deal with a dozun-class dragon in a one-on-one fight. However, how many dragons were there on Dragon Island? Were there any half-step Sage-class dragons? Were there any Sage-class dragons? Shao Feng did not have the confidence to take on the entire Dragon Clan by himself. Dragon Phoenix Origin Fruit. The silver dragon roared and landed in front of Shao Feng. With a dazzling flash of light, a young man in silver armor appeared in front of Shao Feng. Human, I am Zhu Yu. The silver dragon transformed into a young man and walked toward Shao Feng. A pair of silver eyes stare at Shao Feng. You are Shao Feng, a member of the Shao clan? Do you have news of the Dragon Phoenix Origin Fruit? This is why I came to Dragon Island. Xiao Feng smiled at the silver dragon Zhu Yu. I am here to make a deal. I will use the news of the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit to borrow a path from Dragon Island and make a trip to the Void Lightning Pool. Xiao Feng had intended to use the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit to make the deal, but Supreme Dan's spirit stopped him. He only allowed him to use information to make the deal. As for the reason, of course, it was because Li Yu's auction house was about to open. How could he not cheat the Dragon Clan? If your information is true, there is no problem with this deal at all. The silver dragon, Zhu Yu's expression was very serious, and his tone became very stiff. If your information is false, then you will know what is called the wrath of the Dragon Clan. Since I dared to come, I will naturally not lie to you. Xiao Feng did not care about the silver dragon's threat. According to Supreme Dan's spirit's instructions, he waved his hand and sprinkled a light screen in front of him. Supreme Dan's spirit immediately released the virtual image created by the system. The light screen showed a small tree that looked like a horned dragon. At the top of the small tree grew a strange fruit with purple and gold intertwined with a dragon and phoenix. Hiss, is it really the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit? Including the silver dragon, all the dragons who saw the light screen cried out in surprise. Human, Xiao Feng, we agree to your request. The silver dragon nodded seriously at Xiao Feng, then turned to look at the other dragons and said, the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit is of great importance. The news must not be leaked. Otherwise, you will be severely punished. Yes, the other dragons nodded. Xiao Feng, come with me. The silver dragon called out and brought Xiao Feng all the way. After a while, they landed in front of a huge palace. Grandfather, Zhu Yu shouted into the palace. Grandfather, come out quickly. I have something important to report. Zhu Yu? What is it? There was a slight fluctuation in the space, and an old man with long silver hair and white robes appeared in front of the two. Human? When the old man in white robes saw Xiao Feng, he was obviously surprised. It has been many years since a human came to Dragon Island. Zhu Yu, is the thing you want to report related to this human? Yes. Grandfather, this person brought news of the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit. What? The old man in white robes was shocked by the news, and his silver hair flew up one by one. Human, you have news of the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit? The old man in white robes turned to look at Xiao Feng. Is your news accurate? As long as it is true, our dragon tribe will definitely reward you. Yes, I have news of the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit. Xiao Feng nodded and released the light screen again. When he saw the small tree and the strange fruit on the top of the tree, the old man in white robes breathing quickened. I am Zhu Li. In the name of the third elder of the dragon tribe in East Island, I guarantee that as long as you tell us the location of the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit, as long as your request is not excessive, we will agree to all of it. My request is very simple. I just need to borrow a path to the Void Thunder Pool. Xiao Feng stated his request without hesitation. Borrowing a path was not a big deal. The dragon tribe did not have to pay any price at all. They just needed to open up a space passage. Naturally, they could not refuse such a request. It was not that Xiao Feng had not thought of making a higher request, but the Grand Elixir Spirit had told him not to complicate matters. After all, the dragon tribe had never been a generous tribe. If the request was too excessive, they would immediately turn hostile and capture him for interrogation. It was not impossible for them to do such a thing. No problem at all. Hearing Xiao Feng's request, the third elder of the dragon tribe, Zhu Li, nodded happily. I will arrange a space passage for you immediately. Now, please tell us the location of the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit. Northwest of the continent, Jiama Empire, Wu Yuan City Auction House. The Dragon Phoenix origin fruit is there. Following the Grand Elixir Spirit's instructions, Xiao Feng said something that even he did not believe. However, the dragon tribe believed it. This was because the light screen in Xiao Feng's hand was continuously zooming out, starting from the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit and showing the auction house, Wu Yuan City, Jiama Empire. Then, the dragon tribe fell into the trap. The bait has been set. We are just waiting for you to take the bait. Liu lifted his wine cup and took a sip. The corners of his mouth lifted into a smile. Chapter 135. Teacher, why did you ask me to say that? After leaving Dragon Island, Xiaofeng followed the spatial passage all the way to the void lightning pool. As he walked, Xiaofeng asked the Supreme Elixir Spirit. The Supreme Elixir Spirit had always been unfathomable and incomparably correct, making Xiaofeng listen to the Supreme Elixir Spirit's command. However, he still did not understand the Supreme Elixir Spirit's meaning. Teacher, isn't the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit in my ring? Why did you say it was at the Wu Yuan City auction house? The real reason was that Li Yu's auction house was about to open, and he planned to use the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit to cheat the Dragon Clan. He directly instructed the Supreme Elixir Spirit to do so. However, this reason naturally could not be told to Xiaofeng. You don't even understand this? The Supreme Elixir Spirit snorted heavily. Don't you have a brain? If you took out the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit today, you would have died without a trace. It can't be? Xiaofeng was clearly in disbelief. Idiot, you directly gave the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit to them, and then you only asked to pass through. Who would believe you? The Dragon Clan will definitely suspect that you have other motives and directly fall out with you. The Supreme Elixir Spirit sneered. The Dragon Clan is not a kind person. Even if you raise a suitable price and ask them to pay a huge price in exchange, won't they just snatch it? Xiaofeng even broke out in cold sweat. In this world where strength was respected, this kind of thing was too normal. It had been smooth sailing all this time, causing him to relax. But if we lead the disaster to the Wu Yuan City auction house, Xiaofeng was still kind-hearted in nature, so he could not let go of this kind of thing. Do you still remember the slap in Wu Yuan City a few years ago? The Supreme Elixir Spirit chuckled. If the Dragon Clan dares to be ruthless, then there will be a good show to watch. Heaven. Heaven shrouding Great Emperor? He's at the Wu Yuan City auction house. Hearing this news, Xiaofeng was about to be dumbfounded. A Do-Di actually opened an auction house. As expected, an expert's way of doing things was beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Even the true flame of the sun that he had was from Great Emperor shrouding heaven. Furthermore, he could use the name of Great Emperor shrouding heaven as he wished. Teacher really did have a close relationship with Great Emperor shrouding heaven. With Great Emperor shroud heaven around, there was nothing to worry about. As for why his teacher hadn't told him to use Great Emperor shrouding heaven's name to intimidate the dragon folk into not daring to do anything, Xiaofeng believed that his teacher had his own reasons, so he couldn't be bothered with him. That's right. I will give the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit to that person. Since you've received benefits from others, you should return the favor. Although I don't like it, it's still a token of my appreciation. Teacher, you're right. After chatting for a while, Xiaofeng ignored the matter of the dragon race and rushed to the void lightning pool. Not long after, a dazzling silver light appeared in the void in front of them. Bursts of violent thunder and dazzling lightning rose up in front of them. Violent energy vibrated in the void. This is the void lightning pool. Xiaofeng looked at the scene in front of him and was shocked. It was a lake with a radius of thousands of feet. However, what was rippling in this lake was not ordinary water. Instead, it was lightning water formed by resplendent silver lightning. Lightning turned into water, and water gathered to form a pool. This was the void lightning pool. Even though it was still far away, the roaring thunder, the violent explosion of dazzling lightning, and the huge energy that shook the void made Xiaofeng's heart tremble. Teacher, what should I do? Looking at the vast power of lightning in front of him, Xiaofeng took a deep breath. He had already guessed the Grand Supreme Elixir Spirit's plan. Next, he must go deep into the void lightning pool and use the power of lightning to refine his body. But with such a violent power, no matter how strong my body is, I will be blasted to pieces, right? Very simple. Go down and take a bath. The Grand Supreme Elixir Spirit laughed strangely. So it's like this. Xiaofeng's mouth twitched. Gathering all the battle chi in his body and activating all his divine abilities, Xiaofeng turned himself into a golden warrior. Then he slowly walked to the edge of the void lightning pool and carefully put his foot in. Boom! As soon as the tip of his foot touched the void lightning pool, the fierce and violent power of lightning exploded on Xiao Feng's body. The silver electric light crazily moved around Xiao Feng's body, and the golden figure exploded with endless electric light. Ah! Every bone, every muscle, every drop of blood, and every meridian in his body were being continuously bombarded and tempered by this ferocious thunderbolt. The intense pain made Xiao Feng roar towards the sky, but his mouth spat out a cloud of black smoke, as if his body was burned by the thunder and lightning. The continuous baptism of thunder made Xiao Feng feel so much pain that he wished he was dead, but gradually he felt a little comfortable. It was as if the impurities in his body were being baptized by this lightning, and under the bombardment of the thunder, they were being removed bit by bit. His entire body became more sparkling and translucent, and the golden color on his body became more brilliant and pure, as if the impurities in the gold had been tempered into pure gold. Phew! He let out a long breath, and his breath was pure. There was no longer the impurities in the black smoke from before. The thunder and lightning that exploded on his body was still dazzling, but Xiao Feng no longer felt this thunder and lightning. Thus, his entire body stepped into the void lightning pool. The dazzling electric light exploded even more violently, and Xiao Feng once again received the baptism of the thunder and lightning. As time slowly passed, Xiao Feng walked step by step towards the center of the void lightning pool. Half a month later, Xiao Feng was already standing in the center of the void lightning pool. The wild thunder and lightning flowed around his body, twisting and turning like a dragon, as if there were countless thunder and lightning dragons surrounding his body. This wild power was something that even a Do Sheng would not dare to easily withstand. But Xiao Feng felt as if he was bathing in the spring breeze, and his entire body was extremely comfortable. Xiao Feng, little brat, at this stage, your diamond body and strawman body can be considered to have been successfully trained. The Grand Supreme Pill Spirit's voice was filled with praise. With the strength of your body, even if you stand still and let others cut you, no one below the Dozun level would be able to hurt you. Thank you for your guidance, teacher. At this moment, the diamond body had already achieved a small success, and Xiao Feng was also continuously absorbing the power of his ancestor Xiao Feng under the catalysis of the wild thunder and lightning. At this moment, Xiao Feng's strength had already advanced to the Dozun level. In just a few years, from a trash that was mocked and ridiculed by others, to an influential supreme being, it was impossible to do so without the guidance of the Grand Supreme Pill Spirit. Thinking back to the past, Xiao Feng's heart was filled with emotions, and he was already very respectful towards the Grand Supreme Pill Spirit. Brat, don't waste time. The Grand Supreme Pill Spirit shouted at Xiao Feng again. You also cultivated the thunderous demon vanquishing mantra. Now that there is thunder everywhere, what are you waiting for? Yes. Xiao Feng hurriedly nodded, sat down cross-legged, and chanted the thunderous demon vanquishing mantra, resonating with the thunder that filled the void lightning pool. At the beginning, the thunder that Xiao Feng roared out was scattered by the thunder that filled the void lightning pool. As time passed, the thunder that Xiao Feng roared out gradually merged with the thunder in the void lightning pool. In the end, Xiao Feng roared out thunder, and the void lightning pool responded. The entire world was filled with the thunderous demon vanquishing mantra that Xiao Feng roared out. At this moment, the thunderous demon vanquishing mantra had already been fully mastered. Huh! Xiao Feng laughed and walked out of the void lightning pool. Chapter 136. Now it's my turn. Xiao Feng had just walked out of the lightning pool when a ray of light flashed across the ring. The Grand Supreme Alchemy Spirit's figure appeared beside the lightning pool. Brat, I want to swallow this lightning pool. The Grand Supreme Alchemy Spirit reached out and pointed at the lightning pool in front and said to Xiao Feng, Haven't seen such ample energy for a long time. This time, this old man can finally eat my fill. Teacher, Xiao Feng lowered his head in shame. Turns out that teacher has always been lacking energy. Turns out that those that I provide every month are not enough for teacher to use at all. Xiao Feng secretly swore in his heart that he must gather more energy for teacher. Brat, I'll let you take a look at this old man's capabilities. The Grand Supreme Alchemy Spirit laughed loudly and walked to the side of the lightning pool, opened his mouth wide, and sucked fiercely. I'll go. Even the Grand Supreme Alchemy Spirit has become so fond of showing off. When Liu saw this situation, the corners of his mouth twitched fiercely a few times. This was a crooked stick, a crooked shadow, right? It should be like this, right? System, connect to the Grand Supreme Alchemy Spirit. Open the Resource Recovery Passageway. Recover the Void Lightning Pool. Under Liu's command, the Grand Supreme Alchemy Spirit instantly succeeded in posturing. Suck! A formless undulation swept across the Void Lightning Pool. Following the Grand Supreme Alchemy Spirit opening his mouth and sucking, an incomparably massive suction force was born in the void. All of the lightning water in the entire Void Lightning Pool rushed towards the Grand Supreme Alchemy Spirit's mouth in an unending stream. The incomparably massive suction force extracted the lightning water frenziedly. Gradually, the lightning water became less and less. The Void Lightning Pool's volume also became smaller and smaller. In the end, the entire Void Lightning Pool already completely disappeared. This scene looked like the Grand Supreme Alchemy Spirit drank the entire Void Lightning Pool in one gulp. Teacher is too powerful. Xiao Feng opened his mouth wide and could not close it for a long time. Such astonishing divine might. Even if Xiao Feng's estimation of the Grand Supreme Alchemy Spirit was already high enough, he was still frightened until he stared dumbfoundedly with his mouth agape. The Void Lightning Pool is in my hands. Liu looked at the Void Lightning Pool that appeared in the resource warehouse and nodded with a slight smile. System, scan the thunder water and analyze its structure. Liu was also interested in the transformation of lightning into water. After collecting the resources, it had almost become a routine for him to scan them. Scan complete. Analysis complete. The lightning water is formed from extremely condensed lightning energy. Thunder transforming into water. It seems to be somewhat similar to the sword radiance transforming into water in the garden of the Immortal Mansion. Liu nodded with a smile. Now that there's a sword pool, it's not bad to have a thunder pool in the garden. Liu instantly decided on the future use of the Void Lightning Pool. The Void Lightning Pool was in his hands, the Bodhi Ancient Tree had become his subordinate, and the Merchant City had been established. All that was left were the other Heavenly Flames on the Heavenly Flame ranking, the Heavenly Cauldron on the Heavenly Cauldron ranking, and the Ancient God Cave abode. Other than that, there was nothing else that caught Liu's eye. I have no use for the Deviant Flame. However, after analyzing the structure, it's still pretty good to have a rich resource bank. Liu knocked on the coffee table beside him, and Shui Ro hurriedly poured a cup of wine for him. Liu took a sip of the wine. He already had an idea of how to collect information on the Deviant Flame. The Imperial Flame in the Ancient God Cave abode is formed from the fusion of all the Deviant Flames. It possesses the characteristics of all the Deviant Flames. As long as I analyze the Imperial Flame, I will naturally be able to collect all the information on the Deviant Flames. I won't have to search for them one by one. Very good. If he could solve the problem in one go, he wouldn't have to waste time running around. When he thought about the Imperial Flame, he naturally thought of the Imperial Pill. The Imperial Pill is one of the two most precious treasures in the Ancient God Cave abode. It can allow one to become a Do-D without any origin energy. This effect is quite miraculous. It's also worth researching. Liu already knew that the primal chaos energy could allow one to become a Do-D. However, he wasn't interested in helping many people become Do-D. Hence, the Imperial Pill was just a research item. As for the Heavenly Cauldron, this item caused Liu to frown. Heavenly Cauldron. Even though Liu had collected the knowledge of everyone in the Heavenly Tomb, he knew very little about the Heavenly Cauldrons on the Heavenly Cauldron list. It was said that there was a primal chaos cauldron. It was a treasure that was born after the creation of the world. However, he had no clue about this item. According to the structure of the world, this world should be just a small world in the great thousand world. Would such a small world have a treasure that was born after the creation of the world? Since there were no clues, Liu didn't plan to rack his brains. Since that's the case, let's open the auction house. Liu waved his hand, and Shui Ro immediately came over. Inform Yufei that the auction house will open tomorrow. Liu casually instructed, and Shui Ro immediately ran out. A moment later, Yufei ran over anxiously and shouted at Liu from afar. What are you doing? Opening tomorrow? There's still a lot of things to do. Why are you opening now? Don't worry about the details. Liu reached out for the wine cup on the coffee table, and Shui Ro hurriedly handed it over. Not bad. Liu chuckled and took a sip of the wine cup. Seeing Liu's sloppy appearance, Yufei stomped her foot heavily in hatred. All right, let me make it clear to you. Liu put down the wine cup and lectured Yufei. What is the most important thing in an auction house? Is it a beautiful environment? Is it a good service? No, none of these are important. My auction house is definitely the best. We don't need to provide our guests with a comfortable environment, nor do we need good service. Liu raised his head and looked at Yufei proudly. Because I have a peerless treasure here. I have something that other places don't have. Here, we have the final say. Liu knocked on the coffee table and raised his eyebrows. You have to understand one thing. In this auction house, we are not the ones begging our guests to come in. It is the guests who are begging us to let them in. All right. When Yufei heard Liu's words and thought of the peerless treasures in Liu's hands, she was speechless. You should put yourself on a pedestal. Now, you are the one who controls their fate. You are the one who decides their future. You are the one in charge. Yes. Hearing this, Yufei's spirit was stirred up. Why did I come out here to fight alone? Didn't I just want to be in charge? Now, I'm already in a superior position. Why do I still have a mentality of small fry? Yes, I'm already in charge. Yufei proudly raised her head, like a beautiful peacock, proudly raising her tail feathers. Go, prepare for the opening. Liu waved his hand generously. Yes, Yufei replied excitedly and ran out in high spirits. Ha ha, another one who has been fooled. Taking the wine cup from Shui Ro's hand, Liu took a big gulp and burst into laughter. Chapter 137. The next day, Wu Yuan City's auction house opened for business. The white, jade-like walls shone brightly under the sunlight. Similarly, the huge signboard at the entrance of the auction house was also shining brightly with a few big words. The World #1 Auction House. When the mercenaries, merchants, and citizens saw these words, the corners of their mouths twitched uncontrollably. This auction house looked elegant and stylish, but this name was really, not only was it tacky, it was also crazy. Yufei's mouth was twitching too. This morning, Yufei proudly announced the official opening of the auction house. Then, she realized that the auction house did not have a name. Thus, she excitedly ran to Liu and asked him what name the auction house should be named. Liu had just woken up and was washing up with Shui Ro and Qing Yao. He did not have the time to bother with Yufei and directly said, "My auction house is the world's #1. After saying this, even Liu was stunned, because #1 auction house greets my lord. A woman's voice suddenly entered Liu's mind. Then, the auction house's name became #1 Auction House. This name, this signboard, was automatically generated from the auction house after Liu said this. What the heck? Liu did not come back to his senses for a long time. He casually gave a name to the store's artificial intelligence. Then, this name became the auction house's name. Originally, the store's artificial intelligence did not need to be too high. Liu thought that the artificial intelligence that had merged with the ancient heavenly phoenix's remnant soul was something like a guardian spirit and did not pay much attention to it. Now that the name was given, the artificial intelligence of the store was activated by Liu. Its level of intelligence was actually not inferior to Shui Ro and the others. The ancient heavenly phoenix's remnant soul's spiritual energy is so strong. After merging with artificial intelligence, it actually reached this level. Liu was a little surprised. My lord, because the store's building materials and artificial intelligence building materials have a 50% compatibility, the artificial intelligence of the store has automatically increased. The artificial intelligence of the #1 auction house quickly reported to Liu, but there was a hint of helplessness in its voice. If my lord is not satisfied with this, you can reset the artificial intelligence level. Oh, no, I'm very satisfied. Liu smiled and shook his head. It didn't matter if it was more intelligent. Since it couldn't escape his control, it didn't matter. The stronghold of the mall was essentially the radiation point of the mall space to the outside. It was a coordinate anchor point, with an intelligence core constructed from the soul of an ancient heavenly phoenix. It already possessed a considerable degree of self-protection. This was more beneficial to the long-term stability of Stronghold. Liu naturally wouldn't object. Just like that, the naming process ended in a muddle. Then, the world's #1 auction house opened for business. Liu didn't plan to pay attention to the miscellaneous businesses in Wuyuan City. After Yufei had been brainwashed by Liu's superior theory, she despised Wuyuan City even more. So, after opening for half a day, it was completely deserted. Not even a shadow of a customer could be seen. Fortunately, some guests came in the afternoon. Boom! The space above Wuyuan City suddenly exploded. It was as if space itself had been torn apart, and a huge crack appeared. Whoosh! 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 5 figures rushed out of the crack in space and stood in the air above Wuyuan City. As soon as the 5 figures appeared, a vast aura enveloped the entire Wuyuan City. The powerful aura carried a pressure that came from the soul, causing everyone in Wuyuan City to tremble in fear. Of course, except for the world's #1 auction house. They can stand in the air without battle, energy wings. They are all grandmasters. Some of the people in Wuyuan City who could tell what was going on paled. 5 grandmasters came to Wuyuan City. What was going on? A single grandmaster from the Yunlan sect was enough to dominate the entire Jia Ma Empire. What were 5 grandmasters doing here? To everyone's relief, these experts didn't destroy half of Black Wall City with a single slap. Instead, they simply swept their gaze across the city before landing right in front of the entrance of the world's #1 auction house. The world's #1 auction house. The leader of the group, a white-robed old man, raised his head and looked at the words on the signboard. He frowned. My clan hasn't appeared in the continent for many years. I didn't know that humans were so arrogant. A small auction house dares to call itself the world's #1? What a joke. A silver-haired young man behind the white-robed old man sneered. His face was full of disdain. Forget it. I can't be bothered with this. Let's get the dragon phoenix origin fruit first. The white-robed old man glanced at the auction house's entrance and walked toward it. Is there a guest? Please come in. Please come in. As soon as the white-robed old man stepped on the stairs, a beautiful woman came up to him with a smile. My name is Shui Ro. I'm in charge of receiving guests in the auction house. Shui Ro smiled and nodded. She extended her hand and led the way. Everyone, please follow me. The white-robed old man looked at Shui Ro, who was leading the way, and frowned. He felt that something was wrong, but he had no idea what it was. This made him feel a little uneasy. Follow me. The white-robed old man waved his hand and led the group into the auction house. The group entered the auction house. The hall was brightly lit, and the jade-like materials on the walls shone with a colorful halo under the sunlight coming in through the windows. It was a magnificent sight. Shui Ro brought the white-robed old man and the group into an elegant private room. There were already waiters in the room who had prepared tea and snacks. Everyone, please wait here for a moment. Our auction, say no more. At this moment, the silver-haired young man waved his hand and interrupted Shui Ro. Just say it. We know that you have a dragon phoenix origin fruit here. We intend to buy it. The white-robed old man continued the conversation. He looked at Shui Ro and said, Take out the dragon phoenix origin fruit. If there's no problem with it, we can discuss the price. Do you need the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit? No problem. Please wait a moment. Shui Rou smiled and nodded. She then said to the waiters at the door, "Inform Miss Qingyao to take out the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit for the guests to examine." The waiters received the order and left. A moment later, Qingyao walked in with a jade tray. There was a Dragon Phoenix origin fruit on the tray. This Dragon Phoenix origin fruit was naturally sent up by Liu directly by the Supreme Alchemy Spirit. He had already planned to scam the dragon race personally. Naturally, there was no need for him to leave the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit with Xiaofeng. SSS, it's really the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit. Upon seeing the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit, the white-robed old man and the rest stood up abruptly. Their eyes were fixed on the tray in Qingyao's hands. Their gazes were extremely fervent. "Dear guests, this is the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit. Please examine it carefully." Qingyao smiled and placed the jade tray in her hands on the coffee table in front of the group. "Ha ha!" The silver-haired young man and the rest looked at each other and burst into laughter. These humans were too stupid. They actually sent the item directly to their hands. "This item is not bad. We'll buy it." The silver-haired young man took out a gold coin and slapped it on the coffee table. "The money is here. The item belongs to us." "Ha ha!" The rest of the group burst into laughter. Only the white-robed old man's frown deepened. Chapter 138. This price is very suitable. The silver-haired young man threw out a gold coin and took the jade plate of the Dragon and Phoenix origin fruit in his hand. He had already gathered his fighting power and was ready to fight. The other people beside the silver-haired young man also stood up. Their fighting power surged, and they were ready to fight immediately. However, what was surprising was that they didn't see the panic that they had expected, nor did they see the shock and anger that they had imagined. There was only an indifferent smile. Both Shui Rou and Qingyao had a faint smile on their faces. They did not seem to care about the actions of the silver-haired young man and the others. This surprised the silver-haired young man and the others. No one spoke, and the atmosphere in the room became very heavy. You have to be clear about where you are. This is Wuyuan City. At this time, Shui Rou glanced at the silver-haired young man and the others and reminded them with a smile. "Wuyuan City? Wuyuan City?" Hearing this, the white-robed old man frowned and thought for a while. In the next moment, the white-robed old man suddenly trembled and his face turned pale. "So what if it is Wuyuan City? We?" At this time, the silver-haired young man sneered and seemed to be about to fight. "Shut up." The white-robed old man stood up in panic. He grabbed the silver-haired young man and scolded, "Zhu Yu, stand down." "Grandfather?" The silver-haired young man, Zhu Yu, was stunned. He looked at the white-robed old man in confusion. He did not understand what this meant. "Stand down." The white-robed old man glared at Zhu Yu and shouted angrily at him. Zhu Yu had no choice but to retreat silently. "I am Zhu Li, the third elder of the dragon tribe in East Island. Please forgive me for coming here today." The white-robed old man, Zhu Li, stood up and bowed to Shui Rou and Qingyao. The smile on his face was like a spring breeze. He looked like a very kind old man. "You are quite knowledgeable, since you can understand what I mean." Shui Rou chuckled and pointed at the jade plate held by the silver-haired young man, Zhu Yu. She smiled and said, "Since you have understood, let's make a new offer. Think carefully before making an offer." Qingyao curled her lips in disdain and pointed at the gold coin that Zhu Yu had thrown out. "Don't do this again." "Yes, yes." Zhu Li wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and nodded respectfully. "Excuse me." Zhu Li nervously glanced at Shui Rou and Qingyao before asking cautiously, "May I know, what is your esteemed master interested in?" "TSK, is there anything in your dragon clan that can catch the eye of a High Lord?" Qingyao sneered disdainfully. "Cough, cough." Zhu Li smiled bitterly and coughed dryly. He looked at Shui Rou pitifully. "The Dragon Phoenix origin fruit is very important to our dragon race. Please make an exception. We are eternally grateful." "Forget it. You look quite pitiful at your age. I'll tell you directly. Qing Niao pursed her lips and shook her head. My lord has become interested in the heavenly tripod on the heavenly tripod list these days. I want to take a look at it. Do you understand? Yes. Yes. Thank you very much. Many thanks. Zhu Li was overjoyed and hurriedly bowed to Qing Niao in thanks. All right, that's all. After saying that, Qing Niao waved her hand and turned to leave. Thank you. Thank you. Zhu Li nodded and bowed to Qing Niao. Since we've agreed, there's nothing else for me to do. Take the Dragon Phoenix origin fruits back first and send them over as soon as possible. After Qing Niao left, Shui Rou also waved her hand and turned to leave. Yes. Yes. Definitely. Definitely. Zhu Li nodded and bowed again. After a while, Zhu Li led Zhu Yu and the rest out of the auction house. Phew, that was close. Fortunately, we didn't act rashly. Otherwise, in the spatial tunnel, a group of Dragon Clan members flew in a stream of light. Zhu Li let out a long sigh and wiped the cold sweat on his forehead. He had a look of relief. Grandfather, what's going on? Why did you? Zhu Yu still couldn't understand what had just happened and didn't know what was going on. Wu Yuan City. This is Wu Yuan City. Zhu Li's face was filled with fear. We haven't been on the continent for many years. The news is somewhat blocked. Some time ago, someone from the ancient wasteland region advanced to a Dou Emperor. We only reconnected with the outside world. At this point, Zhu Li's throat seemed to be a little dry. Even his voice sounded hoarse. A few days ago, I contacted the ancient clan's clan leader. He told me that in this world, other than the new Dou Emperor from the ancient wasteland region, there's another Dou Emperor alive. It said that this Dou Emperor called Shrouding Heaven Great Emperor first appeared in Wu Yuan City. He directly punched through the ground. At the auction house, I only remembered after hearing that woman's reminder. We almost snatched something from a Dou Emperor. Even if you want to die, that's not the way to do it. Dou Emperor? Shrouding Heaven Great Emperor? Hearing Zhu Li's words, everyone trembled in fear. Recalling the scene of him flaunting his prowess in the auction house, everyone felt a chill run down their spines as cold sweat broke out all over their bodies. But, grandfather, how can you be sure that the auction house has something to do with Shrouding Heaven Great Emperor? What if they're just trying to scare us? Zhu Yu still found it hard to believe. Your cultivation isn't high enough. You can't sense it. Zhu Li sighed and shook his head. Actually, I didn't sense it at first. It was only when they reminded me that this was Wu Yuan City that I sensed their auras. Those two women are both half-saints. Both half-saints. Zhu Yu was scared out of his wits. Did he just threaten two half-saints? How could they still be alive? Who do you think the owner of this auction house is to make a half-saint willing to do odd jobs at the auction house? Other than a Dou Emperor, who else would have such ability? Zhu Li shook his head and smiled bitterly. If we anger Shrouding Heaven Great Emperor, our entire East Island will be gone with a slap from him. Hiss! Hearing this, the Dragon Clan members trembled. They had a clear understanding of the terror of a Dou Emperor. Fortunately, Shrouding Heaven Great Emperor doesn't care. Zhu Li smiled bitterly and touched the storage ring on his hand. His heart was filled with joy. Since the disappearance of the Dragon Emperor, the Dragon Clan has been divided. As the direct descendants of the Dragon Emperor, our East Island status is declining day by day. With this Dragon Phoenix origin fruit, the Dragon Clan of East Island will definitely give birth to a top Dragon Emperor. The situation of the Dragon Clan being divided will soon be over. But the Heavenly Cauldron? Zhu Li wanted to cry when he thought of exchanging the Heavenly Cauldron on the Heavenly Cauldron list for the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit. The Dragon Clan of East Island had a Dragon Cauldron, which was forged by a Dou Emperor of the Dragon Clan in ancient times. It was the heirloom of the Dragon Clan of East Island. To hand this thing over, he was really unwilling. The Dragon Cauldron was the symbol of the Dragon Clan of East Island. It was the inheritance of the Dragon Emperor's bloodline. If he handed it over, he would be a sinner of the Dragon Clan. However, he had to hand it over. He didn't dare to not hand it over. He could only hand it over obediently. This was the power of a Dou Emperor. Just hearing the name could scare people half to death. Chapter 139. Your Excellency, This is the dragon cauldron. The next morning, Julie obediently delivered the dragon cauldron to the auction house. It looks pretty good. Shui Ro nodded and brought Zhu Li to the auction house's appraisal office to meet Mu Qing. The dragon tribe has delivered the dragon cauldron. Mu Qing, take a look and see if it's real. Shui Ro casually handed the dragon cauldron to Mu Qing. Zhu Li's mouth trembled when he heard Shui Ro's words. Is it real or not? Would I dare to use a fake one? Dragon cauldron? Mu Qing took the dragon cauldron and nodded with a smile. Lord is interested in the heavenly cauldrons on the heavenly cauldron list. You're lucky. Otherwise, you want to exchange a mere dragon cauldron for a dragon phoenix origin fruit? Mu Qing reached out and touched the dragon cauldron. The auction house's resource warehouse instantly verified the authenticity of the dragon cauldron. It's real. Mu Qing nodded and waved at the dragon cauldron. The dragon cauldron was instantly kept in the auction house's resource warehouse. Then, the auction house's artificial intelligence called Number 1 Under Heaven directly handed the dragon cauldron to Li Yu. Of course it's real. Of course it's real. Julie replied with a smile. All right, the money and goods are settled. There's nothing else for you to do. Shui Ro waved at Julie. Yes, I'll take my leave. Julie cupped his hands and bowed before hurriedly taking his leave. Hey, wait. Julie had just stood up when Shui Ro called out to him again. Lord is very satisfied with your dragon cauldron and wants me to tell you a piece of news. Shui Ro stretched out her hand to stroke the hair on her temples and smiled. Lord wants me to tell you. Your dragon monarch's daughter is in the Black Corner region's Jialan Academy. Go and find her yourselves. What? Julie let out a cry of surprise as he jumped to his feet. This piece of news was simply too important. Although the dragon phoenix origin fruit was very powerful, the requirements to use it were also very high. It was very dangerous for dragons with impure bloodlines to use the dragon phoenix origin fruit. Zhu Li was originally worried about how to use the dragon phoenix origin fruit, but now that he heard the news of the dragon monarch's daughter, he was surprised and delighted. This is real. Zhu Li looked at Shui Ro in disbelief. Young, ancient void dragons could not take human form at all, letting a dragon live in Canary Academy? Why didn't the humans skin her and break her bones? Do you still dare to doubt the Lord's words? Shui Ro's brows twitched as the sound of raging tides faintly rang out beside her. I wouldn't dare. I wouldn't dare. Julie hurriedly bowed and apologized. I misspoke. Your esteemed self's words must be true. Thank you very much. Many thanks. With that, Julie hurriedly bid farewell and left. Zhu Li's trip to Jialan Academy would definitely cause some commotion. But what did this have to do with Li Yu? This is the dragon cauldron? On the top floor of the auction house, in an exquisite and elegant room, Li Yu was half lying on a soft couch. Under the service of Bluebird, he was sipping wine and casually glancing at the newly acquired dragon cauldron in the resource warehouse. System, scan the dragon cauldron and analyze its structure and functions. Scan complete. Analysis complete. The dragon cauldron was created by fusing dragon bones with meteorites, burning with dragon flames, quenching with dragon blood, and injecting spirit with dragon soul. It has a huge boost to this world's pharmacist skills. Just like that, despite being on the heavenly cauldron list, the power of the dragon cauldron wasn't particularly strong. Li Yu couldn't help but feel disappointed. The pharmacist skills in this world weren't very versatile. The main ingredient for most of the pills here was the magic cores of magical beasts. The other ingredients were used to purify the violent elemental energy within the magic cores, making it easier for people to absorb the elemental energy within the magic cores. This kind of pill refining skill was actually based on the resources of this world. In a world without magic cores, the pharmacist's skills were completely useless. The pharmacist's skills weren't very versatile, but there were many worlds with things like demon cores. Be it demon cores or demon cores, they were essentially formed by the gathering of the elemental energy of heaven and earth during the process of cultivation. To Li Yu, as long as he could analyze the principles of pill refining in this world, he could also use demon cores to refine pills in a world with demon cores. If he was more ruthless, wouldn't Jean Dan and Nascent Soul be able to refine pills too? Hence, the heavenly cauldron that enhanced the pharmacist's ability to refine pills still had some reference value to Liu. Doesn't the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe still have the Phoenix Cauldron? Liu chuckled. Since I've already gotten the Dragon Cauldron, how can I let go of the Phoenix Cauldron? Greenbird, you're from the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe. Why don't you go and greet them? Liu got up and glanced at the Greenbird beside him. He smiled and nodded. I have the bloodline of the ancient Heaven Phoenix here. Ask them to exchange it with the Phoenix Cauldron. Yes. The green bird bowed and left to carry out the order. The Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe was ranked below the ancient Void Dragon in the world of magical beasts precisely because their bloodline wasn't pure. If they could get the bloodline of the ancient Heaven Phoenix, they would be willing to exchange it with the Phoenix Cauldron. The next morning, there was another loud noise in the space above Wu Yuan City, and a huge crack appeared. Including the green bird, a total of 5 figures whizzed through the air and landed in front of the auction house. Has the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe arrived? After hearing the report, Liu chuckled. Since number 1 in the world is formed by the soul of the ancient Heaven Phoenix, then it seems like we can do something to it. In the auction house, the green bird led a group of people from the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe into the auction house. At this moment, the auction house shook violently, and a vast and ancient aura shot up. Alwan Phoenix's cry could be heard. The top of the auction house shone brilliantly, and an ancient Heaven Phoenix with golden feathers and a long golden tail appeared in the endless brilliance. I can feel the aura of the bloodline. The golden Heaven Phoenix stretched its feathers and shook the brilliant feathers on its head. It lowered its head and looked below the auction house. Its mighty voice reverberated in the auction house. The power that was engraved in the bloodline and soul made everyone from the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe in the auction house tremble. Heaven Phoenix, lifting their heads to look at the noble and majestic figure. The instinct that was engraved in the bloodline and soul made everyone from the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe kneel down involuntarily. Greetings to the Heaven Phoenix. The tribe leader of the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe, Feng Tian, led the Doe sages from the other 3 tribes and kneeled down respectfully. So, it's the younger generation. The Heaven Phoenix stretched its feathers and gently landed on the ground. Brilliant brilliance bloomed on its body. My younger generation. The current me is just a spiritual body. The great emperor took pity on me and used his great powers to protect my soul. The Heavenly Phoenix glanced at the few people from the Heavenly Demon Phoenix race and nodded. Your cultivations are not bad. My body has long decayed, but the great emperor has preserved my bloodline. I can bestow my bloodline to all of you. Thank you for your pity, Heaven Phoenix. The people from the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe kneeled down on the ground again. Then let's start with you. A drop of golden blood appeared from the Heaven Phoenix's long beak. It extended its wings and pointed at the tribe leader of the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe, Feng Tian. Yes, thank you for your generous gift, Heaven Phoenix. Feng Tian walked in front of the Heaven Phoenix and kneeled down respectfully. The Heaven Phoenix shook its beak and golden blood flew out. It instantly merged into the space between Feng Tian's eyebrows. Qing Yao stood at the side and watched coldly. The corner of her mouth lifted into a mysterious smile. Chapter 140. The golden blood merged into Feng Tian's forehead and his body started to burn with flames. The raging flames burned fiercely. Feng Tian's body burned fiercely from the inside to the outside. His entire body turned into a huge torch. Nirvana Flame. This is Nirvana Flame. The leader of the 3 heavenly demon phoenixes shouted in surprise when he saw Feng Tian's situation. Ha ha! The ancient heavenly phoenix bloodline has reappeared in the world. The Kuan Phoenix of the 3 heavenly demon phoenixes looked up at Feng Tian and laughed happily. God bless my clan. Ying Huang cried tears of joy appearing in her eyes. God bless? Qing Yao stood at the side and smiled at this scene. She couldn't help but laugh in her heart. Is it so easy to take the Lord's item? How can the ancient heavenly phoenix bloodline be given to you for free? After a while, the flames on Feng Tian's body started to fade. Caw! A phoenix cry sounded and an endless golden radiance bloomed. A golden phoenix that was 10 feet long appeared in the auction house. This golden phoenix was very similar to the heavenly phoenix. It was just that its body was slightly smaller. This is the heavenly phoenix bloodline. This is the heavenly phoenix bloodline. The 3 heavenly demon phoenixes exclaimed in surprise. Now it's your turn. The heavenly phoenix turned to look at the 3 heavenly demon phoenixes and waved its wings. Yes, the 3 heavenly demon phoenixes quickly ran over and bowed respectfully in front of the heavenly phoenix. The heavenly phoenix waved its beak, and 3 drops of golden blood flew to the 3 heavenly demon phoenixes and merged into their bodies. The raging flames surged once again. The 3 heavenly demon phoenixes burned their bodies in the flames and purified their bloodline. After a while, another 3 phoenix cries sounded and 3 golden phoenixes appeared in the light. Then, the 4 golden phoenixes realized that they had become extremely loyal to the heavenly phoenix. The heavenly phoenix gave us the bloodline and allowed us to restore the glory of the ancient heavenly phoenix clan. What kind of great kindness was this? We must be loyal to the heavenly phoenix. We must follow the heavenly phoenix to our deaths. We must obey the heavenly phoenix's orders. Thus, the intelligence of the stronghold, known as Heavenly Phoenix and the number 1 in the world, took in 4 battle saints as subordinates. Ha ha ha! Liu couldn't help but laugh out loud. The loyalty mark is still quite useful. Just now, Liu had tampered with the 4 drops of Heavenly Phoenix blood and placed a loyalty mark inside. When Feng Tian and the other 3 fused with the Heavenly Phoenix blood, the loyalty imprint had already been deeply implanted. In order for the mark of loyalty to be at its best, there were some requirements. The target of the imprint must not have very strong resistance, otherwise the effect of the imprint would not be ideal. The Heaven Demon Phoenix race was the descendant of the ancient Heaven Phoenix. However, due to the passage of time, his bloodline was no longer pure. Now, Liu is using his identity as the soul body of the ancient Heavenly Phoenix, the number 1 expert in the world, to innately make the heavenly demon phoenix race feel reverence and trust. Then, he used the opportunity of bestowing the heavenly phoenix bloodline. While they were deeply grateful, he silently made a move. Then, the heaven demon phoenix race fell into a pit of fire. The heaven demon phoenix race was loyal to the heavenly phoenix, number 1 expert in the world. Then, the number 1 expert in the world only followed Liu's orders, indirectly causing the Heaven Demon Phoenix race to fall into Liu's demonic claws. As for why he didn't directly control them, of course, it was because he didn't want to directly control them. Liu had many ways to directly control the few leaders of the Heaven Demon Phoenix race, but it wasn't necessary. Sufficient strength had to be left behind to guard the stronghold of the Shang city. If there were only the ancient tree and a few others, there would be too few people. With the appearance of the heavenly phoenix, number 1 expert in the world, the Heaven Demon Phoenix race was obviously a suitable target to be subdued. Since they were left to guard the stronghold of the Shang city, Liu would have to leave sooner or later. Of course, these subordinates would be directly under the control of the heavenly phoenix, number 1 expert in the world. With the Dodi ancient tree overseeing, Shui Rou and the other 4 Sage-to-be reinforcements, in addition to the 4 Do Shang class leaders of the Heaven Demon Phoenix race, and the entire Heaven Demon Phoenix race. The defensive strength of the stronghold of the Shang city was already unbreakable. Even if a large group of Dodi came to besiege them, wouldn't Liu be able to support them from a distance? Very good. In the auction house, the Heavenly Phoenix nodded to Feng Tian and the other 3 who had fused their bloodlines. You all can return to your human form. Yes. The 4 of them did not hesitate to obey the order. With a flash of golden light, the 4 huge golden phoenixes instantly transformed into 4 figures. After fusing their bloodlines, the four of them had a huge change in appearance. The most important thing was that the four of them had become younger. Among the heaven demon 3 phoenixes, the phoenix was a female. Her appearance was already very young. At this moment, she looked like a young woman in her 20s. Kuan Huang and Ing Huang both had the appearance of an old man. After fusing their bloodlines, they turned into men in their 30s. As for Feng Tian, he had also turned into a young man in his 20s. Follow me. I will bring you to meet the Honorable Lord, the heavenly phoenix instructed. Then, her body flickered with golden light, and she turned into a luxurious woman wearing a phoenix crown and a golden robe. Yes, Feng Tian and the other 3 followed the heavenly phoenix to the top floor of the auction house. Honorable Lord, this subordinate has brought the younger generation over. Would you allow them to meet the Honorable Lord? Arriving at the door, the heavenly phoenix reported. Come in. Liu replied lazily. The door opened with a creak. The heavenly phoenix brought Feng Tian and the others to Liu. This subordinate greets the Honorable Lord. The heavenly phoenix bowed deeply to Liu. We greet the Honorable Lord. Seeing the heavenly phoenix bowing, Feng Tian and the others did not dare to delay and hurriedly bowed down. This is the heaven-shrouding great emperor? He's actually so young. Sneaking a glance at Liu, Feng Tian and the others were extremely shocked. They only felt that it was somewhat inconceivable. And Liu seemed to have noticed that the few of them were secretly glancing at him. He turned his head and looked at the 4 of them. Boom! As if a sudden clap of thunder had exploded in their minds. A domineering aura that could destroy heaven and earth covered the sky. It was as if heaven and earth had collapsed. Feng Tian and the others were so frightened that their faces turned pale. They trembled and felt as if their souls were about to be crushed. This junior did not know the severity of the matter and offended the Honorable Lord. Please forgive us, Honorable Lord. The heavenly phoenix hurriedly pleaded for mercy for Feng Tian and the others. And I'll teach them some rules later. Let them follow you in the future. Liu withdrew his aura and waved his hand lazily at the heavenly phoenix. Yes, the heavenly phoenix hurriedly led Feng Tian and the others away. Ha ha ha. After they left, Liu held onto the chair and laughed loudly. Whether it was the so-called greeting or the so-called anger, it was actually all a show that Liu had written and acted out himself. The Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe had planted the loyalty mark, so they were naturally extremely loyal to the Heavenly Phoenix. However, Liu also wanted to leave a deep impression on them. Just by using the ancient demon sage's violent and domineering aura of the crocodile ancestor, it scared the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe members out of their wits. With this deep impression, coupled with the Heavenly Phoenix's orders, the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe members were even more comfortable using it. Chapter 141. The Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe became one of them. The Phoenix Cauldron also fell into Liu's hands. The Sky Cauldron was only a reference. Liu let the system scan it and threw it into the resource storage of the stronghold. After wreaking havoc on the Dragon Clan and the Phoenix Clan, Liu put his mind back on cultivation. The cultivation of the Dragon Realm still required about 2 more years to reach perfection. When he reached the Dragon Realm, all of Liu's goals in this world would be achieved. Without Liu messing around, the auction finally got on the right track under Yafei's management. The world had changed a lot. However, some people's fates didn't seem to have changed. Jialan Academy. 5 days had passed since the strong ranking tournament. Xiaoyan made it to the top with the strength of a peak Douling. He was second only to Xiao Sun Air and Ziyin, who were already in the King Realm. Ever since the Yunlan sect battle ended, Xiaoyan officially entered Jialan Academy to cultivate. Xiaofeng and Medusa's Wind Alliance was close by. With Xiaofeng's care, Xiaoyan had an endless supply of cultivation resources. His strength grew very quickly. After a long time together, Xiaoyan and Xiao Sun Air's relationship grew stronger day by day. On this day, Xiaoyan and Sun Air were walking side by side on a grassy field. The sun was warm and the grass was green. The jade-like couple walked side by side. The whole sky was filled with a youthful aura. However, the person who spoiled the scenery arrived in the blink of an eye. Suddenly, there was a whistling sound outside the mountain. A huge and unfamiliar aura faintly pointed to the two's location. It's actually... Xiao Sun Air's expression changed. There was some bitterness in her eyes. She quickly pulled Xiao Yan and ran into the forest behind them. Brother Xiao Yan, hide here first. Don't come out no matter what. Xiao Sun Air pushed Xiao Yan into the forest. Her expression was a little anxious. What's going on? Xiao Yan looked in the direction of the sound and snorted heavily. Could it be that someone dares to target you? Hide first. Don't let them find you. Sun was a little anxious. With a flick of her wrist, a gentle force pushed Xiao Yan into the forest. Big brother Xiao Yan, hide well. Don't expose your aura. What are you doing? Xiao Yan was baffled. Phew. Whoosh. Whoosh. A series of violent air-piercing sounds were heard. Suddenly, a dozen or so pitch-black figures appeared outside the mountain. That is, Xiao Yan's eyes widened in surprise when he saw the figure flying in the sky. 10 huge demonic beasts flew over a high speed. The demonic beast's entire body was as black as ink, and there was a silver horn that was about a foot long on its head. The horn was covered with strange patterns, and there were faint traces of lightning flowing on the patterns, bringing with it the sound of wind and thunder. There were also 4 pitch-black wings on the back of the demonic beast. As the wings flapped, a gust of wind whistled from the sky. The trees in the forest fell under the pressure of the wind. There was a figure sitting on the back of each 4-winged unicorn. These figures were dressed in purplish-black robes. They were expressionless, and their bodies emitted a cold aura that was as sharp as a blade. Miss Sun Air, I've finally found you. The leading figure, riding on the unicorn, saw the young girl on the grass. He quickly turned his wings and landed on the grass. Miss Sun Air. The person who seemed to be the leader jumped down from the unicorn and landed in front of Sun Air. I'm the Black Submerged Army's deputy commander, Ling Quan. The handsome young man in his 20s smiled at Sun Air and cupped his fists. Under the orders of the clan leader, please return to the clan's encampment. When I want to go back, I will go back by myself. Do you need to come and fetch me? Xiao Sun Air's expression was very ugly, and her tone was also a bit cold. Hee hee. Ling Quan smiled and said to Xiao Sun Air, I don't dare to disobey the clan leader's orders. Miss Sun Air, please don't make it difficult for us. These people are Sun Air's clansmen. They are here to fetch Sun Air back. Hearing the conversation between the two, Xiao Yan's heart tightened, and his breathing became hurried. Who is it? Commander Ling Quan immediately noticed Xiao Yan's aura became chaotic. With a loud shout, Commander Ling Quan waved his hand and slashed a blade of fighting aura in the direction of Xiao Yan. Boom! The green flame and fighting aura collided violently. The violent shock wave shook the forest, and the trees in the forest fell. Stop! Only then did Sun Air's anxious shout rang out. Damn it! They're actually so strong? Xiao Yan scrambled out of the forest in a sorry state. His aura was chaotic, and his fighting aura was not flowing smoothly. Xiao Yan, are you okay? Sun Air anxiously ran over and pulled Xiao Yan up and down. Seeing that Xiao Yan was not injured, she let out a sigh of relief. You're Xiao Yan? Commander Ling Quan saw that Sun Air and Xiao Yan were so close, and his eyebrows were tightly knitted together. His eyes were already filled with coldness. You are the Xiao clan's trash young master? Walking in front of Xiao Yan, Commander Ling Quan arrogantly glanced at Xiao Yan, and the corner of his mouth carried a disdainful sneer. Oh, I heard that you took off the title of trash, but TSK, with this little strength, you are no different from trash. You! Xiao Yan's heart was filled with anger, and he fiercely glared at Commander Ling Quan. Ling Quan, shut up. Sun Air turned her head and glared at Ling Quan, her eyes carrying a trace of anger. Commander Ling Quan ignored Sun Air and instead stared at Xiao Yan and coldly laughed as he shook his head. A mere Do Ling realm strength is already very weak. You won't even let people talk about it? Who are you? Xiao Yin took a deep breath, and his hand tightly gripped the hilt of the dark, heavy Buster sword. Who am I? Huh? Ling Quan laughed loudly and arrogantly raised his head. This question, you do not have the qualifications to know. Or rather, your Shao clan does not have the qualifications to know. After saying this, Ling Quan suddenly released his aura, and a monstrous pressure surged forth like a tsunami. Xiao Yin was suppressed by this aura, and only felt as if a huge mountain was pressing down on his body. The heavy pressure caused his face to turn pale, and he almost could not breathe. You said that my Shao clan does not have the qualifications? A voice suddenly sounded beside his ear. At first, this voice was very soft, but as each word was spat out, the voice became louder and louder. When the word qualifications was said, the voice was like thunder exploding. The voice resounded through the 9 heavens and shook the heavens and earth. Qualifications, qualifications, qualifications. The voice reverberated between heaven and earth. The vast voice reverberated like thunder, scattering the floating clouds in the sky and scattering the cool breeze. An incomparably huge sound wave rippled outwards, and nothing could block it. The unicorn flying in the sky trembled, and together with the rider on its back, it fell to the ground with a miserable cry. Pooh! Commander Ling Quan spat out a mouthful of blood, and his expression changed greatly. He quickly turned his head to look outside the mountain. There a tall and upright figure stood tall like a mountain. Chapter 142. Brother Feng. Looking at the mountain-like figure, Xiao Yan's heart warmed, and Xiao Feng's words echoed in his mind. If I can do it, why can't you? Yes, I can do it. I can do it. One day, I will be like Brother Feng, and have the power to not lower my head to anyone. Xiao Yan clenched his fists tightly, turned his head to look at Sun Air, and took a deep breath. I'm still too weak. Moreover, I've slacked off. After regaining my aptitude and rising again, I became complacent for a little achievement. But I forgot the hardships of the past. I've slacked off. Xiao Yan raised his head to look at Xiao Feng, and secretly made up his mind. Brother Feng has advanced step by step, never slacking off, never backing down. He has already left me far behind. If I don't work hard, I won't be able to catch up to Brother Feng. The mountain-like figure slowly walked over. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Heavy footsteps stepped on the ground, and a huge shock wave rose, as if the entire mountain was shaking. Different from before, Xiao Feng's appearance this time did not have the dazzling golden light of the past, and he was completely plain, as if he was an ordinary youth. However, that vast aura, as deep as the abyss and as dazzling as the sun, could not be concealed no matter what. People of the ancient clan? Xiao Feng stood in front of Commander Ling Quan, and his calm face was indifferent. Raising his eyes, Xiao Feng swept a glance at Ling Quan and the rest before lightly shaking his head. You're just a mixed blood descendant of the ancient clan side branch. How dare you be so impudent in front of our Shao clan's direct descendant? Who are you? Ling Quan's face turned pale and instantly flushed red. He was stung by Xiao Feng's words, mixed blood descendant of the ancient clan, and raised his head to ask Xiao Feng in a hoarse voice. Who am I? Xiao Feng laughed and looked deeply at Ling Quan. I'll return the words to you. You want to know who I am? You're not qualified. You. Ling Quan spat out another mouthful of blood. Scram. Xiao Feng waved his sleeves and sent Ling Quan flying. Go back and tell Gu Clan leader that Sun Air will be staying here. If he doesn't agree, tell him to come find me. How dare you interfere in the matters of the ancient race? Just you wait. Ling Quan was sent flying more than 100 feet away. He rolled a few times on the ground before he got up. Embarrassed and angry, Ling Quan jumped up and pointed at Xiao Feng and shouted. Scram! Xiao Feng slapped Ling Quan again, sending him flying. Ling Quan crashed into several large trees before he stopped, spitting out blood. Even if it was Gu Clan leader's idea to bring Xiao Sun Air back, I don't think he would ask you to humiliate the Xiao Clan. You're so presumptuous and self-righteous. Do you believe that even if I kill you, the ancient race won't say a word? Xiao Feng frowned and looked at Ling Quan. He snorted, "If you dare to talk nonsense again, I'll kill you immediately." Could it be? Hearing Xiao Feng's words, Ling Quan was shocked, and his face turned pale. He remembered that when he left the ancient race, his superior passed on a message from the clan leader. Just bring Sun Air back. Be careful with your words and actions. Don't create unnecessary trouble. So the clan leader already knew about the existence of this person in the Xiao clan? Could it be that the Xiao clan, which had been in decline for countless years, has really risen again? Ling Quan didn't dare to be rash anymore. He hurriedly led his defeated subordinates and left in a hurry. Brother Feng, Xiaoyan brought Xiao Sun Air to Xiao Feng and smiled embarrassedly. I've let you see a joke. Huh, what joke is there? Xiao Feng laughed heartily and secretly winked at Xiao Sun Air. Xiao Sun Air's face turned red, and she lowered her head, looking a little embarrassed. Brother Feng, I heard from sister-in-law that you went out. Why did you come to Jiaolan Academy today? Xiaoyan saw that Xiao Feng was being funny and hurriedly made fun of Xiao Feng. Where did this sister-in-law come from? Nonsense. The word sister-in-law directly blocked Xiao Feng's words. Xiao Feng quickly changed the topic. I just came back from going out. I happened to pass by Jiaolan Academy on my way back, so I wanted to see you. At this point, Xiao Feng reached out and patted Xiao Yan's shoulder, nodding approvingly. When I entered Jiaolan Academy, I heard a lot of people talking about you. They said that you were in the limelight in the top 10 battle. Not bad. My little bit of ability is nothing. Xiao Yan smiled and shook his head. These words were spoken from the bottom of his heart. Compared to Xiao Feng, his improvement was really insignificant. Oh, that's right. I came here this time with a gift for you. As he spoke, Xiao Feng took out an ancient scroll from his ring and handed it to Xiao Yan. Take it. This is a heaven rank battle skill. A heaven rank battle skill is a little lacking. Practice it first, and I'll find you a better one in the future. Heaven rank battle skill? When this scroll was taken out, the three people were scared silly. First was Xiao Yan. The strongest battle skill he had learned so far was only the earth rank battle skill. Flame, swallowing wave, splitting ruler. A heaven rank battle skill was something that only existed in legends. He didn't even dare to think about it. Now, Xiao Feng actually gave it to him. The second person who was scared silly was Xiao Sun Air. Originally, she thought that she could only leave this time, so she secretly gave Xiao Yan a 5 Emperor seal that only had the first 2 layers. The ancient clan's secret battle skill, 5 Emperor seal, was only earth rank high. Giving Xiao Yan the first 2 layers, Xiao Sun Air still took a big risk. Now that Xiao Feng directly gave the heaven rank battle skill, how could Xiao Sun Air not be shocked? Finally, there was Yao Lao. This ring grandpa, who had been defeated countless times by Xiao Feng, was completely speechless this time. Even Yao Lao himself had never seen a heaven rank battle skill before. It's not a good thing. Xiao Feng laughed and looked at Xiao Yan with some embarrassment. Originally, I wanted to pass on my own cultivation method to you, but teacher said that our paths are different, and practicing my cultivation method will harm you. I can only give you this. Thank you, Brother Feng. This is already very good. Xiao Yan put away the scroll and thanked Xiao Feng seriously. He understood what she meant by different approaches. Xiao Yan practiced the flame tactics, which was the path of fusing and refining the strange fire. If he practiced Xiao Feng's cultivation method, there would obviously be a conflict. Not only would there be no benefits, but it would also harm him. What are you thanking me for? We're brothers. Xiao Feng smiled and waved his hand. At this time, the voice of the Supreme Elixir Spirit sounded in Xiao Feng's mind. Xiao Feng boy, let them release the strange fire. I'll help him take a look and make it safer for him to fuse the strange fire. Ah, thank you, teacher. Hearing the words of the Supreme Elixir Spirit, Xiao Feng was overjoyed. With the help of the Supreme Elixir Spirit, Xiao Yan's path of fusing the strange fire would be safer. In reality, Liu suddenly realized that there were piles of strange fire here and wanted to take the opportunity to analyze it. The Gold Emperor's incinerating heaven flame, the bone freezing flame, the green lotus earthly flame, and the Jialan Academy's fallen heart flame. If one were to include the Black Corner region's Han Feng's sea heart flame, there would soon be 5 types of mysterious flames gathered here. With the strange fire so concentrated, Liu obviously wanted to take the opportunity to do something. Chapter 143. Cousin, I have a piece of good news. Xiao Feng said to Xiao Yan with a face full of joy. You are walking on the path of fusing mystical flames. This path is very dangerous. I asked teacher for help, and he agreed. Give me a strand of mystical flames, and I'll show it to teacher. With teacher's ability, it shouldn't be difficult to find a safer method for you. Oomph. What nonsense. Yao Lao snorted in Xiao Yan's mind. How can an ancient cultivation method like the flame art be changed by just anyone? Brother Feng, is this true? Xiao Yan didn't care about Yao Lao's words. Hearing Xiao Feng's words, he was pleasantly surprised. Ever since he heard the familiar title of Grand Supreme in the Yunlan sect, Xiao Yan was filled with confidence in Xiao Feng's so-called teacher. Grand Supreme Tao Ancestor. Was there anything that such a person couldn't do? Xiao Yan hurriedly released the green lotus hellfire. The jade-green flame danced on his fingertips. Reaching out to take out the bronze box, Xiao Yan was about to cut off a strand of green lotus earth fire. At this moment, Xiao Feng stopped him. Cousin, there's no need for the green lotus earth fire. Teacher has seen this thing long ago. Xiao Feng reminded with a smile. Huh, I'm confused. Xiao Yan scratched his head embarrassedly. Even the green lotus earth fire was given to him by Xiao Feng. He must have seen it long ago. Reaching out, a white flame appeared in his hand. Xiao Yan threw the white flame into the bronze box and handed it to Xiao Feng. I'll take it first. Xiao Feng reached out to take the bronze box. Grand Supreme Elixir Spirit instantly withdrew the bone freezing fire. That lady still has the Gold Emperor incinerating heaven flame. Go and get some too. Xiao Feng nodded and took out the bronze box. Sun Air, get some of your Gold Emperor incinerating heaven flame. Teacher wants to analyze it. All right, to be able to help Xiao Yan, Xiao Sun Air was naturally happy. She immediately took out a strand of Gold Emperor Incinerate Heaven Flame and placed it into the bronze box and handed it to Xiao Feng. Xiao Feng took the box and put it into his ring. The Supreme Pill Spirit immediately handed the Gold Emperor Fentian Yin over to Liu. System, scan and analyze the 2 deviant flames. Liu didn't care about the strange flame specimens that were stored in the warehouse. If he wanted to collect this thing, he would have done a long time ago. What Liu was truly interested in was the Imperial Flame. It was a supreme flame formed by gathering all the deviant flames. It possessed the characteristics of all deviant flames, yet it was superior to all deviant flames. With the Imperial Flame, he could obtain all the heavenly flames in one go. Liu could not be bothered to search for them one by one. However, Liu had suddenly discovered that there were 5 different types of heavenly flames gathered in the Jialan Academy. Thus, he had conveniently collected them. Analysis of bone freezing fire completed. Analysis of Gold Emperor Fentian Yin completed. The 2 types of flames were quickly scanned and analyzed by the system. Bone freezing fire belongs to the Yin flame. The ice-cold flame formed by the fusion of extreme heat and extreme cold. This thing even has a trace of the characteristics of the 9th underworld fire. Liu smiled. According to the structure of the bone freezing fire, as long as he added a trace of the 9th underworld fire into the lava, it would be very easy to create the bone freezing fire. If it's the Gold Emperor Fentian Yin. Liu glanced at the structure of the Gold Emperor Fentian Yin and smiled. Metal attribute flame? Taking a trace of the 5 elements metal flame from the 5 elements true fire and fusing it with the lava will create the Gold Emperor Fentian Yin. Liu stood up and walked to the window. Looking at the auction house where customers had already appeared, he shook his head and smiled. If I really take these deviant flames out to sell, many people in this world would go crazy, right? All right, Liu had already dispelled this idea. Even if he wanted to sell the deviant flames, what would others use to buy them? Ordinary items could not be exchanged for deviant flames. The items that could be exchanged for deviant flames were basically all in Li Yu's hands. In the Pill Pagoda's old ancestor is an old fellow formed from a level 9 pill. It seemed like I can also study it. Li Yu had already scanned the pill beasts in the ancient ruins and already knew what the transformation of pills was. Actually, he did not particularly care about this level 9 pill. However, he did not have a sample of the level 9 pill on hand. He could also scan this old fellow and enrich his resources. Find a time to let Xiaofeng make a trip to the Pill Pagoda. As long as he sees the Pill Pagoda's old ancestor and gets the supreme pill spirit to scan him, it will be done. I am too lazy to do it. The key is to make the best use of my time to complete my own cultivation. Li Yu smiled and turned to return to his room. Now that the shopping center had been built, Li Yu's system mission had long been completed. The reason why he was still here was to make use of this time difference to improve his own cultivation. According to the main world's cultivation, until the complete dragon realm was still considered a cultivation level. However, one's level was not equal to one's strength. If Li Yu practiced the main world's cultivation techniques, with Li Yu's innate sage body and Taoist embryo, it would probably take less than 3 days to condense his qi and blood and produce vital qi. However, Li Yu wanted to take this step to the extreme. He wanted to use the infinite scripture and the sage body secret technique to cultivate his own body to the extreme. Although Li Yu was still at the cultivation level until the complete dragon realm, with his strength at the complete dragon realm, he could kill a lot of main world's cultivators at the complete dragon realm with one slap. Unknowingly, I have been in this world for 6 or 7 years. Sitting back on the soft couch, Li Yu picked up the teacup and took a sip. He could not help but sigh with emotion. As soon as he finished speaking, Li Yu's expression suddenly changed. He suddenly stood up and hurriedly ran to a large mirror in the room. Thank goodness! Thank goodness! Seeing that there were no changes to his face in the mirror, Li Yu heaved a sigh of relief. During the Nirvana realm's shedding of mortality, he had been reborn 9 times. Even if he had stayed in this world for a few years, his reborn body still looked like that of a 16-year-old. Fortunately, he did not age. If others found out that he had turned from a teenager to a young man after a few days, it would be difficult to explain. But this is still a big problem. At this moment, Li Yu's expression was very grave. From now on, he would have to travel to various worlds and spend a lot of time in the alternate world. As time passed, his body would naturally grow and he would age. If this problem was not solved, Li Yu would not dare to stay in other worlds. He could not live forever. Every day he spent in other worlds was a day less of his life. If he came out of seclusion in another world in the future, his hair and beard would have turned white. How could he survive? Live forever. I must live forever. Li Yu took a deep breath and clenched his fists tightly. The power of the endless scripture is limitless. Destroying the heavens and earth is not a problem. But it has a fatal flaw. If I cannot become an immortal like the endless heavenly emperor, even if I become an emperor, I will only have an extra 10,000 years of life. Li Yu did not have the confidence to become the second endless scripture. That thing was related to many factors. It was not something that could be achieved just because one wanted to. So, Li Yu realized that he had a huge hidden danger. This problem must be solved as soon as possible. Chapter 144. This problem isn't too urgent at the moment. Li Yu heaved a sigh of relief and temporarily let go of this worry. However, he had already made immortality his main task from now on. Immortality is easy. Many worlds have things like the face-preserving pill. Even this world has the face-restoring pill. But immortality isn't that easy. However, Li Yu cultivated the infinite scripture. Even if he couldn't become a great emperor, it wouldn't be a problem for him to live for a few thousand years. If he could cultivate to the great emperor realm, he would be able to extend his lifespan by 10,000 years. There was no need to be too anxious for the time being. If he couldn't solve the problem of immortality, even after traveling through the universe for a few thousand years, Liu might as well just kill himself. Jialan Academy. Xiaoyan entered the burning sky, Qi refining tower, as he wished. He used the heart fire to temper his body and improve his cultivation. Xiaofeng originally planned to leave the Jialan Academy and return to the Wind Alliance. However, the Supreme Elixir Spirit followed Li Yu's instructions and asked him to stay in the Jialan Academy to obtain the Fallen Heart Fire. The Fallen Heart Fire was something that could ignite the heart fire of others. It was similar to Li Yu's 7 Emotions Heart Fire. More importantly, the Fallen Heart Fire constantly tempered the battle qi in the body. It was known as a cheating tool for cultivation. Li was also curious about this. Since Xiaofeng had already arrived at the Jialan Academy, he might as well take this opportunity to collect some samples and analyze it. Boom! Inside the burning Heaven Qi refining pagoda, there was an earth-shattering explosion. Scorching and violent energy rushed into the sky, illuminating half of the sky in a fiery red color. The earth fire has erupted. Inner court disciples, leave quickly. An anxious and nervous shout sounded. The battle qi light whizzed past. All the elders in the Jialan Academy rushed toward the burning sky, qi refining tower nervously. Strengthen the seal. Elder Su Qian appeared outside the burning sky, qi refining tower, in a flash. He reached out and pressed down. Boundless battle, qi desperately poured into the tower's ceiling array. The other elders hurriedly followed. They all reached out their hands and poured their battle qi into the burning sky, qi refining tower. Boom! A giant python, made of magma and flames, suddenly rushed out from the magma under the tower. It roared and fiercely slammed into the burning sky, qi refining tower. The burning sky, qi refining pagoda burst out with a brilliant brilliance. Then, it shook violently, and faintly visible cracks appeared on the body of the pagoda. This is in the back mountain of the inner courtyard. Xiaofeng raised his head and looked at the blazing light in front of him. Teacher, has the Fallen Heart flame erupted? Yes, it's erupting. The Supreme Elixir Spirit laughed and said, "This thing actually has intelligence. It's really interesting. The Fallen Heart flame has gained sentience. Can heavenly flames also gain sentience?" Hearing the Supreme Alchemy Spirit's words, Xiaofeng was very surprised. Even pills can gain sentience and take on a human form. Why can't heavenly flames do the same? The Supreme Pill Spirit chuckled. Do you see that fire python? The Fallen Heart flame was about to take form. Although it's formed from lava and fire, its true form must be about to transform into a fire python. A heavenly flame that is about to take form? Xiaofeng nodded, leaped up, and rushed in the direction of the burning sky, qi refining pagoda. His figure landed on the square outside the burning sky, qi refining pagoda. Xiaofeng saw Xiaoyan, Xiao Sunair, and the others standing at the edge of the square, staring at the burning sky, qi refining pagoda, nervously and curiously. They seemed to be very interested in this scene. Cousin, Xiaofeng greeted Xiaoyan and walked over. Brother Feng, you're here. Xiaoyan chuckled and waved at Xiaofeng. Brother Feng. Xiao Sunair also smiled and greeted Xiaofeng. It's good that you guys are fine. Xiaofeng smiled and nodded. Seeing such a big commotion here, I was worried that something had happened to you guys. Boom! Just as the few of them were talking, the burning sky, qi, refining pagoda in front of them let out another earth-shattering sound. A huge flame python rolled up a huge lava fire pillar and fiercely crashed into the burning sky, qi, refining pagoda. The violent shock caused the entire ground to shake. It's actually so strong? Xiaoyan opened his mouth wide. He was obviously shocked by the might of the Fallen Heart flame. The Fallen Heart flame is so fierce. Can we catch it? I'm now in a spiritual body, so I definitely can't catch it. But, Yao Lao said until here, seemingly unwilling, but that brother of yours should be fine. Brother Feng? Xiaoyan turned his head and glanced at Xiaofeng. He already had confidence in his heart. With this brother here, no matter how strong the fallen heart flame was, it couldn't overturn the sky. I can't suppress it anymore. At this time, Xiao Feng raised his head and looked in the direction of the burning sky, Qi, refining pagoda. He sighed softly. What? Xiao Yin was currently conversing with Yao Lao when he suddenly heard Xiao Feng's words. He was startled and hurriedly raised his head to look over. Boom! Below the ground, the churning lava shot up to the sky like a volcanic eruption. The enormous fire python spiraled up, rolling up a towering fire pillar and charging straight up. Can't block it anymore. Quickly dodge. Su Qian roared loudly. His hand loosened, and his figure retreated explosively. At the same time, the other elders who joined hands to maintain the seal also hurriedly let go and retreated. Rumble. The burning sky, Qi refining pagoda, instantly crumbled. The scorching lava was like a towering fire pillar, rushing out explosively from below the burning sky, Qi refining pagoda. At this instant, the heaven and earth essence energy in the entire inner court suddenly started to riot. Roar! An excited roar sounded out from within the blazing lava. Lava that blotted out the sky and covered the earth splashed everywhere. The churning, raging flames were like raging tides. The entire surroundings of the burning sky, Qi refining pagoda, turned into a sea of fire that reached the sky. Roar! A huge fire python that was nearly 100 feet long was fluttering in the raging lava. It roared and scuttled, as if it had broken free from its shackles and escaped from its cage. It was dancing wildly in excitement. All elders, listen to my command. Get into formation. 1,000 layers seal. Following Su Qian's command, all the elders reached out their hands and pressed on the ground of the square outside, the burning sky, Qi refining pagoda. Activate the formation. The ground exploded with dazzling Do Qi. An energy seal that was like 1,000 layers of giant net covered the head of the fire python. Roar! The happy fire python was suddenly covered by the 1,000 layers of giant net. It immediately struggled fiercely. The monstrous raging flames churned. The fire python rushed up with a roar, pulling the energy light net and rushing into the air. The violent twisting and struggling caused the net of light to shake violently. Damn it! The elders who were maintaining the energy light net turned pale. They desperately drove the Do Qi in their bodies to maintain the energy light net. Hold on. This formation will soon suppress the fire python again. Su Qian shouted loudly, encouraging everyone. The energy light net of the 1,000 layers of seal shone even more brilliantly. According to the development of this situation, it was not impossible to seal the fire python again. But ha ha ha! The Jialan Academy still has such a good thing? This is really great. A wanton and wild laughter sounded. The sky suddenly fluctuated violently. A group of figures instantly appeared in the air. A bloody and ruthless aura pervaded the air. Chapter 145. What's going on? The arrival of these uninvited guests caused Su Qian and the others to be shocked. The fire python had almost escaped. Medicine Emperor Han Feng. Su Qian's expression was gloomy as he looked at this group of uninvited guests. His gaze stopped on a man wearing an alchemist robe, and a cold glint appeared in his eyes. Han Feng. Yao Lao's voice rang in his mind, causing Xiao Yin to be stunned. Teacher, do you know these people? No, I only know one. Han Feng, this cruel and unscrupulous traitor. Just by hearing his voice, I can recognize him. Yao Lao's voice carried a deep hatred. Traitor? Xiao Yin raised his head and glanced at Han Feng. A cold glint flashed across his eyes. Was this person once Yao Lao's disciple? Looks like I have to clean house. Han Feng, what do you want to do by barging into my Jialan Academy? This was the crucial moment to seal the fallen heart flame. Han Feng's arrival clearly did not have good intentions, causing Su Qian to be extremely furious. However, he could not free himself to deal with the enemy. He was anxious and angry. What I want to do? Han Feng coldly laughed. He looked at the fire python that was struggling in the light net, and a fiery glint appeared in his eyes. Of course it's for the heavenly flame. Han Feng, how dare you? Is my Jia Lan Academy something that you can bully? Hearing Han Feng's undisguised words, Su Qian was furious. However, he could not free himself at this moment. Jia Lan Academy? Ha ha! Han Feng laughed loudly. If your headmaster was still here, I would naturally not dare to act recklessly. Now that he is not here, who can stop me? After saying this, Han Feng turned around and bowed to the figures beside him. Everyone, please lend me a hand. After today, Han Feng will reward you greatly. All right, everyone responded. Doqi erupted and a monstrous, ferocious aura spread and covered the entire place. Old ground demon ghost, Motian Xing, gold silver elders. Seeing these four monstrous figures, Su Qian's face turned pale and cold sweat appeared on his forehead. The Demon Flame Valley's old ground demon ghost was a high-class dozone. The Black Emperor's sex, Motian Xing, was a middle-class dozone. The Gold-Silver brothers were both at the peak of the Do Huang class. Their combined strength was equivalent to a beginner-class dozone. Adding a half a step to dozone Han Feng, this strength was far too great. The current Jia Lan Academy only had First Elder Su Qian at the dozone class. Moreover, he was being held back by the Fallen Heart Flame and was unable to unleash his full strength. How could he block it in such a situation? Release the seal and prepare for battle. Since it had already come to this point, he definitely could not get entangled with the Fallen Heart Flame anymore. Su Qian made a prompt decision and immediately removed the sealing formation that trapped the Fallen Heart Flame, concentrating on dealing with the threat that Han Feng brought. Ha ha ha! Han Feng faced the skies and howled with laughter. Everyone, after this matter is over, Scarlet Academy will definitely not let this go. In for a penny, in for a pound. Today, we will bathe Jia Lan Academy in blood. Not even a chicken or a dog will be spared. Not bad. Motian Xing laughed wildly and agreed. He then pounced on Su Qian and the others. Huh, this old man has had this intention for a long time. The old ground demon ghost let out a strange cry and rushed down. Us brothers will naturally not fall behind. The Gold-Silver brothers also charged over. Bathe Jia Lan Academy in blood? Not even a chicken or a dog will be spared. What big words. An indifferent voice sounded beside their ears. The voice was not loud and appeared to be an ordinary angry rebuke. However, hearing this voice, the old ground demon ghost and the others, who were charging over with a savage smile, instantly paused. They looked in the direction of the voice in shock. A young man's figure stood in front of them. He was like a mountain that had stopped at the bottom of the abyss. It's you. The Gold-Silver brothers stared blankly at this figure. Their bodies trembled. They let out a strange cry and turned around to run. We're just passing by. Passing by. Just passing by. Passing by? Xiao Feng watched the Gold-Silver brothers fleeing in a miserable manner and coldly snorted. Since you're just passing by, then get lost. Get lost. A loud voice exploded like thunder. The mighty demon subduing thunderous voice was vast and majestic. An endless mighty force that could not be blocked. Pooh! The Gold-Silver brothers spat out a mouthful of blood. However, they did not dare to stop or look back. They shouted loudly, passing by, and madly fled. Martial Emperor Xiao Feng, it's you? Han Feng raised his head and looked at Xiao Feng. His face turned green and white. Martial Emperor, I, Han Feng, have nothing to do with your Wind Alliance. Why are you interfering in the matter between me and the Jia Lan Academy? Martial Emperor? Is that my nickname? Xiao Feng was slightly startled. He smiled and shook his head. You are called Drug Emperor, and I am called Martial Emperor? Hee hee. You dare to be mentioned in the same breath as me? I would like to see what qualifications you have to be mentioned in the same breath as me. Xiao Feng sneered and took a step forward. His hand was already clenched into a fist. If you don't die from my fist, I will spare your life. Boom! The fist was shocking and as heavy as a mountain. His body of a diamond had already reached the small success stage. Even if this fist was not supported by any other divine abilities, the two divine abilities, mountain moving strength and immovable mountain, had already become instincts of his body. He did not need to activate them to possess the power of these two divine abilities. In addition, the dragon elephant diamond divine strength had merged with the dragon soul. This gave Xiao Feng an additional dragon strength. Even if Xiao Feng purely used his physical strength to throw a punch, it was not something that anyone could block. More importantly, Xiao Feng had returned from the lightning pool and used the power of lightning to crazily refine ancestor Xiao Xian's power. His cultivation had already soared to the Do Zun realm. An ordinary half-step Do Zong could be destroyed with a flick of his finger. However, Han Feng was not ordinary. Damn it! Han Feng saw Xiao Feng's fist coming at him with earth-shattering power. His heart turned pale with fright. He quickly gathered all the strength in his body and activated his heavenly flame, Sea Heart Flame. He wanted to use the heavenly flame's power to block Xiao Feng's attack. Brother Feng, be careful. That's the heavenly flame, Sea Heart Flame. Seeing the blue flame emitting from Han Feng's body, Xiaoyan quickly reminded Xiao Feng. Heavenly flame, huh? The corner of Xiao Feng's mouth lifted into a slight smile. So what? Boom! Mountain-shaking fist. The fist that was as heavy as a mountain violently smashed down. The blue flame that covered Han Feng's body suddenly exploded. The heavy iron fist heavily smashed into Han Feng's chest. Bang! The wild and violent strength directly exploded Han Feng's fist. The sky was filled with a bloody fog. Even the sea, blue, heavenly flame had disappeared. It seemed to have been extinguished by this fist. Hiss, the sound of cold air being sucked and sounded from all around. A half-step to Do Zong, who had the protection of a heavenly flame, exploded with just one punch. Even the heavenly flame could not block this attack. Even the heavenly flame could not hurt him at all. Even the heavenly flame was extinguished. What kind of terrifying strength was this? Actually, Xiao Feng had kept the heavenly flame, Sea Heart Flame, into his ring the moment Han Feng died. Martial Emperor, we are also passing by. Also passing by. Yes, just passing by. Passing by. The old ground demon ghost and Mo Tianxing's faces were filled with panic. They nodded and bowed with a smile. They did not dare to turn around and run like the gold-silver elders. The gold-silver elders were insignificant. If they ran away, Xiao Feng could not be bothered to directly attack. If the old ground demon ghost and Mo Tianxing dared to run, he would definitely slap them. Passing by? Xiao Feng smiled and nodded. Yes, I'm also passing by. Book Group 419, 574, 189. Chapter 146. Haha, yes. We're all passing by. We're all passing by. Old ground demon ghost and Mo Tianxing hurriedly nodded and bowed in agreement. But in their hearts, they cursed the 18 generations of medicine sovereign Han Feng's ancestors dozens of times. If not for being bewitched by Han Feng, why would they come to get involved in this mess? Han Feng promised to provide medicinal pills for many years and promised countless benefits. That was why the leaders of the two major forces, Demon Flame Valley and Black Emperor Sect, took action personally. But, encountering Xiao Feng, this maleficent star, everything turned into bubbles. We're all passing by. What a coincidence! Xiao Feng chuckled and glanced at Old Ground Demon Ghost and Mo Tianxing. Since it's such a coincidence, it's better to meet by chance than by invitation. Why don't the two of you come to my Wind Alliance as guests? Okay. Yes. I've long wanted to visit the Wind Alliance. It's just that I never found the chance. The moment Xiao Feng finished speaking, Mo Tianxing and Old Ground Demon Ghost immediately nodded in agreement. Of course. Did they dare to disagree? If they did not agree, Han Feng's outcome was right before their eyes. Although they knew that there would probably no longer be any Demon Flame Valley and Black Emperor Sect in the Black Corner region after this trip. But the situation was stronger than the person. At the juncture of life and death, protecting oneself was the key. Sect? What the hell was that? Roar. Just as the three people were conversing, a huge roar suddenly erupted in the plaza. Monstrous flames rushed up with a loud bang, and the entire plaza turned into a sea of fire. Huh? What's going on? Xiao Feng turned his head to look at the plaza and discovered that the plaza was in chaos. The fallen heart flame that broke free exploded with monstrous flames, crazily spewing flames at the Canary Academy group. The formless heart flame wreaked havoc, forcing the Canary Academy's Su Qian and the rest into a sorry state. What surprised Xiao Feng was that the direction of the fallen heart flame, transformed into a fire python, was vaguely aimed at Xiao Yan's location. The fallen heart flame gave birth to intelligence. It's about the same as a fiend. The supreme elixir spirit chuckled in Xiao Feng's mind. The fallen heart flame wants to improve and become stronger, so it has the idea of devouring other heavenly flames. Devouring other heavenly flames? Was it interested in Xiao Yan's green lotus hellfire? How interesting. Xiao Feng shook his head with a smile and walked towards the place where the meteors were wreaking havoc. Behind him, Mo Tianxing and the old ground demon ghost looked at each other. Their eyes darted around, but in the end they shook their heads dejectedly and obediently followed behind Xiao Feng. Originally, they had planned to take the opportunity to slip away, but just as they were about to do so, they felt an indescribable aura above their heads, causing them to not dare to make the slightest movement. At least you know your place. Xiao Feng smiled and continued to walk forward. Originally, he had paid some attention to the two of them. Once they made any strange movements, he would immediately crush them with the power of thunder. However, he did not expect that the two of them would actually admit defeat. Inner Yard disciples, get out of the way. Su Qian led a group of elders to deal with the impact of the fallen heart flame. He turned his head and shouted at the group of Inner Yard disciples who were watching from outside the square. The square was already a sea of fire. The Inner Yard disciples who were not strong enough had already run far away. Only Xiao Yin and the rest of the experts on the power ranking were still watching from the side. Looking at the situation, it seemed that the elders could no longer control the fallen heart flame. These experts on the power ranking also began to retreat slowly. Elder Su Qian, let me lend you a hand. Xiao Feng shouted loudly. His figure leaped up and crashed into the sea of fire in the square with a huge aura like a majestic mountain. His figure crashed over like a huge mountain. The flames in the surroundings were extinguished by this monstrous aura. Xiao Feng charged through and the flames were extinguished. He opened up a wide path in the sea of fire. Thank you, Alliance Chief Xiao, for your help. Su Qian was overjoyed. He turned his head to look at Xiao Feng and nodded with a smile. When Han Feng brought people to attack earlier, Xiao Feng had already helped a lot by suppressing them. Now that he came to help suppress the fallen heart flame, Su Qian was already extremely grateful for Xiao Feng's help. Roar! Seemingly infuriated by Xiao Feng's rampaging aura, the giant fire python transformed from the fallen heart flame roared furiously. It soared with monstrous flames and pounced in Xiao Feng's direction. The monstrous flames turned into a sea of fire. The giant fire python was like a huge dragon that surged out of the sea of fire. Its pair of ferocious triangular eyes revealed a frenzied, killing intent. Oomph! Xiao Feng looked at the giant fire python pouncing toward him and sneered disdainfully. Even if it has some intelligence, it's not much stronger than a wild beast. I just baited a little, and it came over to die. A trace of undetectable golden yellow flames lingered on his fingertip, revealing a blazing aura like the sun. This was a reason why the fire python turned around and charged toward Xiao Feng. The moment this bit of golden-colored flames appeared, the fire python was immediately attracted. It instinctively wanted to devour this flame. It immediately pounced toward Xiao Feng. Alliance Chief Xiao, be careful. Seeing the giant fire python turn around and pounce toward Xiao Feng, Su Qian was alarmed inwardly and hurriedly shouted at Xiao Feng to remind him. Having been tangled with the fallen heart flame for a long time, Su Qian was very clear about the fire python's power. The formless heart fire was impossible to guard against. Even if Xiao Feng's strength was astonishing, if he was not careful, he might also suffer a huge loss. Roar! The fire python pounced in front of Xiao Feng and opened its mouth to give a loud roar. A surge of formless flames swept over like a raging tide. Xiao Feng only felt his heart heat up fiercely. It was as if there was a cluster of formless flames igniting from the bottom of his heart, instantly engulfing his entire body. This was the fallen heart flame's formless heart fire. Soundless, formless, and without substance, born from the bottom of his heart and transformed due to his thoughts, incinerating the body and soul. Just an insignificant skill. Xiao Feng laughed coldly, not minding the flames that ignited in his heart and body in the slightest. He himself took the initiative to lure the fire python over. How could he not be prepared? My heart is pure, clear as glass. My will is firm, steady as Mount Tai. This is immovable like a mountain. Xiao Feng gave a loud roar, his entire body blossoming with a brilliant radiance. His body was like glass, unclean and untainted. His heart was like a clear mirror, untainted by dust. The formless heart fire that had just arisen seemed to have run out of fuel. It fluttered a few times and was immediately extinguished. Vajra Demon vanquishing. A 4-foot-long Vajra Demon vanquishing pestle appeared in his hand. Xiao Feng gave a loud roar and swung the Vajra Demon vanquishing pestle, smashing it down on the giant fire python's head. Brilliant golden light blossomed on the Vajra Demon vanquishing pestle. Overflowing divine might was unstoppable. Boom! The Vajra Demon vanquishing pestle carried boundless divine might and smashed down on the fire python's head. Firm and unparalleled power violently erupted. The entire fire python exploded with a boom, turning into a sky full of flames, scattering down one after another. A ball of formless flame was faintly discernible in midair. This is the fallen heart fire. Xiao Feng smiled. With a sweep of his hand, he kept the fallen heart fire into his ring. Really too powerful. Only at this time did the Jialan Academy's teachers and students react. The fallen heart fire that wreaked havoc for half a day and left people helpless was extinguished in one move, just like that. The speed at which Xiao Feng kept the fallen heart fire was extremely fast. Nobody noticed the problem and only thought that Xiao Feng extinguished the fallen heart fire in one move. The rise of the Wind Alliance is unstoppable. Elder Su Qian secretly sighed. Turning his head to see the delighted Xiao Yan, a smile surfaced on his face again. Luckily, we're not enemies. Book Group 419, 574, 189. Chapter 147. Have you gotten both the Sea Heart Flame and the Fallen Heart Flame? Li Yu smiled and nodded when he saw the Grand Supreme Elixir Spirit sending over the specimens of the two deviant flames. This time, the deviant flames were sent to his doorstep. He had collected a few deviant flames along the way without much effort. Naturally, he would not be courteous. System analyzed the two deviant flames. After getting the deviant flames, Li Yu's processing method was basically to scan, analyze, and understand the essence of the deviant flames. Then, according to the structure of the deviant flames, he would create the deviant flames himself. The system quickly sent over the results. Is the Sea Heart Flame a flame with water attribute characteristics? This is very simple. There are also water and fire elements in the 5 elements true fire. Just fuse a bit of lava and earth fire to create the Sea Heart Flame. Li Yu ignored the Sea Heart Flame and placed his attention on the Fallen Heart Flame. The Fallen Heart Flame can hurt people with an invisible heart flame. It also has the effect of tempering Do Qi and increasing cultivation at any time. This thing is worth paying attention to. Opening the analysis report submitted by the system, Li Yu frowned slightly, feeling a little surprised. The invisible heart flame is nothing. Among the flames in the immortal abode, the seven emotions heart flame is stronger than it. However, the effect of tempering Do Qi is actually based on this principle. Fire is born from the heart, tempering one's qi and bones. The fallen heart flame calcined the Do Qi in the body at every moment. In this never-ending tempering, it was as if the body was in a cultivation state at all times. This cultivation state was imperceptible, and the effect was even better than usual cultivation. The tempering was more thorough. This principle is actually burning away the impurities and continuously purifying the Do Qi energy in the body. However, it does not bring about an increase in energy. However, in this world where one can consume elixirs to increase Do Qi energy, it is undoubtedly very powerful. After consuming elixirs, the Do Qi energy in the body skyrocketed, but also brought along a lot of impurities. Through the burning of the fallen heart flame, the impurities were removed, and the energy was as pure as one. As long as one continuously consumed elixirs and used the fallen heart flame to burn away the impurities, the cultivation would naturally increase rapidly. This function is very valuable. Liu smiled and nodded. He was very satisfied with this ability of the fallen heart flame. In many worlds, taking pills to increase one's cultivation was very common. Moreover, there had also been cases of people taking too many pills, leading to the problem of pill poison in their bodies. If he had the fallen heart flame's ability to burn off impurities and purify energy, the so-called pill poison would not be a problem at all. Very good. The fallen heart flame is an unexpected surprise. Liu's face was full of smiles. He was very satisfied with this operation of collecting the strange flame. But should I modify the flame mantra for Xiaoyan? Ha! Liu knocked on the table and smiled. Of course, he wasn't so kind as to modify the flame mantra for someone else. But the characteristic of the flame, art fusing with strange fires, made Liu feel a little interested. If the 9-layered flames in the immortal mansion could be fused into one using the principles of the flame mantra, the effect would be even more ideal. Therefore, the so-called modification of the flame mantra was nothing more than an experiment by Liu. System, with the green lotus hellfire as the foundation, according to the principle of the flame mantra, carry out the experiment of fusing the heavenly flame. Experimental data setup complete. Please specify the heavenly flame you wish to fuse with. The system instantly simulated a scene, just like the great illusionary land in Xiaofeng's system. Loading Xiaoyan's data. With Xiaoyan as the test subject, start the experiment of fusing the heavenly flame. As for the heavenly flame to fuse with, choose the fallen heart flame. Experimental setup complete. Initiating the experiment of fusing the heavenly flame. The system notification sounded and the experiment of fusing the heavenly flame began. In the virtual scene, the green lotus hellfire soared from Xiaoyan's body. Then, according to the principle of the flame mantra, he absorbed the fallen heart flame into his body. Boom! The two heavenly flames collided and instantly caused an earth-shattering explosion. Raging flames covered the sky, and the entire virtual scene became a sea of fire. As for the virtual Xiaoyan, he had long been reduced to ashes. What the heck? It was actually so dangerous? He was directly reduced to ashes? Seeing this scene, Liu was dumbfounded. System, according to the data just now, analyzed the success rate of fusing the heavenly flame. According to the collected data, the success rate of fusing the green lotus hellfire and the fallen heart flame is less than 10%. Such a low success rate? Then how did Xiaoyan succeed in fusing them? Moreover, he fused with many heavenly flames and finally fused with the fire of the emperor to become the Flame Emperor. How did he succeed? Hearing the data given by the system, Liu was dumbfounded again. If he could succeed with such a low success rate and succeed again and again, what kind of heaven-defying luck was this? If he went to buy a lottery ticket, he would win it right away, right? All right, probability was really a wonderful thing. If Liu had to practice this kind of technique that only had a success rate of 10% or so, he wouldn't do it even if he was beaten to death. System, continue with the experiment. Remember to record all the experiment data. Following Liu's command, the virtual experiment field was filled with earth-shattering explosions again and again. Until Liu was about to give up, the virtual Xiao Yan's body suddenly emitted a pure green, jade-like flame. The 135th experiment has been completed. Fusion successful. It's a success? Liu heard the system's notification and perked up. Record all the data of the successful fusion. According to the experiment data, start the fusion experiment again. Liu wanted to know if he could guarantee a successful fusion if he fused according to the data of the successful fusion. The virtual scene changed, and the system started the fusion experiment again with the data of the successful fusion. The experiment was a success once again. It's indeed feasible. Seeing that the fusion was successful once again, Liu is very satisfied with this result. System, continue with the experiment. Next, fuse the Sea of Heart Flame and the Bone Freezing Fire. Then, another series of explosions rang out in the virtual testing ground. After handing the experiment over to the system, Liu was too lazy to pay attention to it. With a thought, he left the virtual experiment field and lay down on the soft couch to doze off. Deviant Flame Fusion Experiment completed. When Liu woke up from his sleep, the system's Deviant Flame Fusion Experiment was truly completed. The fusion is complete? Liu rubbed his eyes and got up. Show me the experiment data. In the virtual scene, a figure covered in green and blue flames stood upright. The monstrous flames behind him were surging endlessly. The green and blue flames were unpredictable. One moment it was flowing water, the next moment it was bone-chilling. One moment it was formless and traceless. One moment it was as green as jade. The destructive power surged wildly in the flames like a tsunami. The Deviant Flame Fusion has some redeeming qualities. When Liu saw this, he smiled and nodded. System, according to the data of the successful experiment, summarize a Deviant Flame Fusion method and send it to the Supreme Elixir Spirit. Liu instructed and didn't care anymore. However, he didn't know that this casual action of his would bring about such a huge change. Book Group 419, 574, 189. Chapter 148. The incident of the strange flame eruption in the Jialan Academy had finally ended. In this crisis that could have destroyed the Jialan Academy, Xiao Feng had turned the tide. With his own strength, he had turned the situation around for the Jialan Academy and ended it perfectly. However, looking at the messy square and the burning sky Qi refining pagoda that had turned into ruins, Su Qian sighed deeply. Although he had turned the situation around and obtained the final victory, but the Jialan Academy had suffered heavy losses. The biggest loss was that the Fallen Heart Flame had disappeared. The burning sky Qi refining pagoda was built on the foundation of the Fallen Heart Flame. For many years, the Jialan Academy had used the power of the Fallen Heart Flame to give everyone a cultivation cheat, establishing the foundation of the Jialan Academy's everlasting prosperity. However, the Fallen Heart Flame was no longer there. Regarding this problem, the Jialan Academy did not dare to complain at all. He had helped them so much. Could it be that they would fall out with him just because he had destroyed the Fallen Heart Flame? You want him to compensate? When fighting with the Fallen Heart Flame, at such a critical juncture, who would think of holding back? Who would care whether it was useful or not? Who would dare to belittle something like the strange flame? Of course, they would use all their strength to fight it to death. Therefore, no one in the Jialan Academy had any complaints about Xiao Feng. Instead, they were deeply grateful to him for helping them. After chatting with the Jialan Academy's Su Qian and the others for a while, Xiao Feng followed Xiao Yin back to the dormitory. Cousin, this is the method of fusing the strange flame that teacher gave. Arriving at Xiao Yan's dormitory, Xiao Feng reached out and pointed at Xiao Yan's forehead. The Grand Supreme Pill Spirit had passed the conclusion of Li Yu's experiment to Xiao Yan. It's actually like this. After a while, Xiaoyan opened his eyes. His expression was a little strange. The Grand Supreme Tao ancestor is indeed very resourceful. Xiaoyan realized that the information that had been transmitted to his mind not only contained the complete method of fusing the strange flame, but also the detailed control of every minute and second. It was much more detailed and accurate than the original flame mantra. More importantly, Xiaoyan felt extremely familiar with these things, as if they were experiences that he had summed up after thousands of practice. Of course, he didn't know that these things were the conclusions that Liu came up with after countless virtual fusion experiments using him as a test subject. This is impossible. This is impossible. Yao Lao screamed hysterically in Xiaoyan's mind. In his opinion, no matter how high one's cultivation was, it was impossible to completely analyze the method to safely fuse the heavenly flame with just a sample of the heavenly flame. For a cultivation method like the flame incantation, without going through complete cultivation, without going through countless experiences, how could one come up with a method to safely fuse deviant flames? But without enough deviant fire, who would be able to completely cultivate the flame mantra? Without enough deviant flames, who would be able to experience it countless times? With Yao Lao's knowledge and experience, he naturally could not imagine that there would be such an existence as Liu. After countless virtual experiments, the system had completely analyzed the principles of the flame mantra. The method it came up with was definitely the safest and most correct method. Thank you, Brother Feng. After Xiaoyan received the method to fuse the heavenly flame from Xiaofeng, he had great confidence in this, because he knew the meaning of the title Grand Supreme. Was there anything that even the Grand Supreme Tao ancestor couldn't solve? We are brothers. What are you thanking me for? Xiaofeng chuckled, took out 2 bronze boxes, and handed them to Xiaoyan. These are the Fallen Heart Flame and the Sea Heart Flame. The Fallen Heart Flame belongs to the Academy. Don't expose it. I know. Xiaoyan nodded and kept the 2 bronze boxes. There's nothing else to do here. You can cultivate in peace. I'll go back first. After Xiaofeng said goodbye to Xiaoyan, he left Jialan Academy. Xiaoyan, on the other hand, immersed himself in the method to fuse the heavenly flame. What was the key factor that affected the success rate of the flame mantra? It was control. The heavenly flame was the most violent energy in this world. Even the lower-ranked heavenly flames that didn't have complete intelligence had the instinct to devour each other. This way, when 2 different heavenly flames met, they would instinctively fight against each other. Once they lost control, the violent energy would explode and explode into ashes. Therefore, the success rate of the flame mantra, fusing the heavenly flame, wasn't high. However, after Liu's experiment with the heavenly flame fusion, the system had already analyzed the principle of the flame mantra. Based on this foundation, the new flame mantra had perfectly solved this problem. It could be predicted that after obtaining the new flame mantra, Xiaoyan's future would definitely undergo a huge change. However, even Liu himself didn't know what kind of result the experiment summary that he casually threw out would ultimately lead to. After Xiaofeng left Jialan Academy, he flew all the way. Not long after, Xiaofeng brought the old ground demon ghost and Mo Tianxing to the Wind Alliance's encampment. After a few years, the Wind Alliance grew stronger and stronger. The Snakemen tribe mainly lived in the area where the Bloodsex Mountain City used to be. The Black Mark City became the city under the control of the Xiao family. The 2 brothers, Xiao Ding and Xiao Li, led a group of mercenaries to control the Black Mark City. Although their own strength was a little weak, with the puppets that Xiaofeng placed in the city master's mansion, the Black Mark City naturally couldn't be shaken. A few days later, the Black Corner region welcomed new turmoil. The Demon Flame Valley surrendered, the Black Emperor's sect surrendered, and Feng City surrendered. Under the leadership of Xiaofeng and Medusa, the Wind Alliance swept through the entire Black Corner region with unstoppable strength. With Xiaofeng's Tendo Zun puppets and Tendo Zone puppets, other than Jialan Academy, Only the Wind Alliance was left to dominate the Black Corner region. There were no other forces. After dealing with all this, he distributed the puppets to each of them and let Medusa control the overall situation. Then, Xiaofeng once again embarked on a journey. Teacher, are we going to the Central Province? Yes. We are currently in the northwest corner of the continent. This area is barren, and a mere zone can become the overlord of a region. This pond is too small. The voice of the supreme elixir spirit habitually revealed a hint of disdain and arrogance. Xiaofeng, you need to see the vast world outside. You need to compete with the heroes of the world. You need to step onto the peak of this world through continuous battles. Do you still remember the first time we met? I asked you what your wish was. You said that you wanted to be stronger than others. So, if you want to obtain strength that surpasses all living things, you must accept the challenges of all living things. When you are invincible and all heroes bow their heads, you will naturally possess the qualifications to surpass all living things. Invincible and all heroes bow their heads? Xiaofeng took a deep breath and clenched his fist tightly. Heroes of the Central Province, I am coming. Recommended Chun Ji Tang Hondo's God-level Lucky Star. Wang Hao unintentionally obtained a luck die and even transmigrated to a parallel dimension where entertainment was scarce. This time Wang Hao was awesome. The 6 sides of the luck die were very unlucky, normal, good, very good, God-level good. It refreshed every day at midnight. I don't know what kind of luck I will have today. Please do your best. After midnight, Wang Hao closed his eyes and threw the die on the table. Walala! The die spun randomly. When it stopped, Wang Hao immediately took in a breath of cold air. F***CK. On the top of the luck die was written, Chapter 149. Is this sky border city? Flying over from the Black Corner region, Xiaofeng found this city in the Sky Pillar mountain range. There was a wormhole that connected the northwest of the continent to the central region. It was the only way to go from the northwest of the continent to the central region. Because Liu was interested in the wormhole built by the human race, the supreme elixir spirit sent Xiaofeng here. Otherwise, it would be easy to find a fixed spatial tunnel of the dragon race to reach the central region. Xiaofeng had used the fixed spatial tunnel of the dragon race once when he went to the Dragon Island. Liu also instructed the supreme elixir spirit to take the opportunity to scan it. Now that Xiaofeng was heading to the central region, Liu naturally wanted to take the opportunity to analyze how the human race wormhole was built. After combining the 2 spatial techniques, Liu could use the spatial power without worry. As Xiaofeng walked into Sky Border City, he scanned his surroundings. The city was bustling with people and prosperous. It was worthy of being the hub that connected to the central region. That direction, is it the location of the wormhole? After being promoted to a dozone, Xiaofeng was very sensitive to spatial power. Standing in the city, he scanned with his mind. The surging spatial power in front of him was like a torch in the darkness. It was very obvious. He walked towards the wormhole. After passing through more than half of the city, a huge square appeared in front of him. In front of him was a huge black stone square. The huge square was very wide. The entire square was paved with a kind of black stone. In the cold darkness, there was a steel-like feeling. In the middle of the square, there was a towering stone platform. On the stone platform, a vigorous spatial power spread out, causing the surrounding space to tremble slightly. Is it here? Xiaofeng smiled and walked towards the stone platform in the square. Friend, are you going to use the wormhole? In front of the stone platform stood a group of guards with swords in their armor. Seeing Xiaofeng walk over, one of the people who seemed to be the leader came forward and greeted Xiaofeng. Yes, Xiaofeng nodded. I was just about to go to the central region. The leader's face showed a bit of difficulty, as if this matter was still somewhat difficult. What? Is there a problem? Xiaofeng looked at this person in surprise and frowned slightly. This wormhole was open to the public, so it couldn't be that it wasn't for people to use, right? It's like this. A guest of my old ancestor is about to head to the central continent. If you don't mind, wait for a moment and we'll open the wormhole together. How about it? The leader quickly explained the reason to Xiao Feng. Oh, so it's like that. That's fine too. When Xiao Feng heard the explanation, he also expressed his understanding. A wormhole was a passageway created by the power of space, but every time it was used, it would consume the power of space. If it was on the way, it would definitely be more cost-effective to teleport a few people together. It didn't take long for the so-called guest to arrive. It was a skinny middle-aged man. Xiao Feng glanced at him and found that this person was probably at the Grandmaster realm. He was probably someone from the central region. It was just a convenient teleportation. Xiao Feng didn't plan to talk to him and just nodded. After paying the teleportation fee, he walked onto the platform and waited for the wormhole to open. A trembling sound rose, and the space on the platform rippled like water. A pitch-black hole with a diameter of 10 feet was rotating and slowly opening. A huge power of space rippled in the black hole. The pitch-black hole couldn't see the end of it at a glance, and only endless darkness could be seen. Is this a wormhole? Xiao Feng glanced into the black hole and frowned slightly. Compared to the glowing spatial passageways of the dragon tribe, this inky black spatial passageway was a far cry from its appearance. Xiao Feng smiled and shook his head and stepped onto the teleportation platform. At this time, the Supreme Elixir Spirit immediately reported the situation in front of him to Li Yu. This pitch-black thing is a wormhole? After hearing about the system connection, Li Yu also frowned when he saw this thing. The appearance of this so-called wormhole was extremely poor, causing Li Yu to be greatly disappointed. System, connect to the Supreme Elixir Spirit, scan and analyze the wormhole. Although it didn't look good, Li Yu still let the system scan it and record the structure of the wormhole into the resource library. Scan complete, analysis complete. The structure of the wormhole has been recorded. The system quickly completed the task given by Li Yu. Analyze the construction principle of the wormhole. The power of space in this world was very active. The method of using the power of space was very worthy of Li Yu's attention. The wormhole is a fixed-point teleportation channel formed by the positioning of the array and the connection of space energy. Fixed-point teleportation by the array? In other words, this thing is a one-to-one fixed teleportation array. Li Yu nodded. This wormhole was a fixed teleportation array. It was somewhat different from the space channel of the dragon race. The dragon race could build fixed space channels, but they could also open temporary space channels to reach anywhere. This was much more convenient than this wormhole that could only be teleported to a fixed point. System, according to the data of the application of the two types of power of space, analyze the principle of the power of space. Record it into the resource library. Using this as a model to analyze the principle of the use of the two types of power of space was also very important to Li Yu. As the owner of the mall space, Li Yu could use the power of space in the mall space. With the system's complete analysis of the principle of the power of space, Li Yu could open teleportation portals at will in the future. Very good. This thing is very useful. Seeing the application of the two types of power of space recorded by the system, Li Yu smiled and nodded. He closed the system connection and no longer paid attention to it. In the pitch-black wormhole, Xiao Feng was shuttling rapidly under the push of an invisible power of space. The thrust isn't big, and the speed isn't fast either. Feeling the pushing force on his body, Xiao Feng smiled indifferently. This pushing force was like a breeze to Xiao Feng. Compared to the pushing force of the space channel of the dragon race, the pushing force of this wormhole was really not worth mentioning. You don't plan to use the spaceship? At this time, the skinny man who had entered the wormhole together turned his head to look at Xiao Feng. His expression seemed to be very surprised. Spaceship? Xiao Feng was slightly stunned. He had never heard of this thing. Xiao Feng boy, the spaceship is similar to the space-breaking airship in the ancient world. The spaceship can only be used in the wormhole. Of course, it is far inferior to the space-breaking airship. Oh, so it is similar to the space-breaking airship. Xiao Feng nodded. He already understood what it meant. Space-breaking airship? This little brother's origin is extraordinary. The skinny man smiled and waved his hand to release a palm-sized silver boat. With a spurt of battle chi, the silver boat instantly soared and turned into a giant ship. The skinny man pointed at the giant ship and smiled at Xiao Feng. Presumably, little brother didn't bring anything like a space ship. Do you want to come together? Thank you very much. Xiao Feng was not a bashful person. He openly followed the skinny man into the giant silver ship. The giant ship shook and flew up. Chapter 150. The silver ship flew through the pitch-black wormhole at an extremely fast speed. The skinny man pressed his hand on the rudder and urged his dou chi, causing a faint spatial power to appear on the silver ship. The silver ship shook fiercely, and its speed increased by several times as it sped away like a bolt of lightning. The use of a spaceship is to increase the speed of the wormhole and save some time. Compared to the space-piercing airship, which can break through space by itself, it's not worth mentioning. The skinny man seemed to be interested in talking as he drove the spaceship while talking to Xiao Feng. I didn't know that passing through the wormhole requires a spaceship. If it weren't for brother's help, I don't know how long I would have to run in the wormhole. Xiao Feng smiled and nodded at the man. The spaceship is actually not a big deal. It's just that the wormhole may have some problems. If there is a spaceship, it can block any emergency. The skinny man patted the rudder and sighed. I once encountered a space storm when I was traveling through the wormhole. If it weren't for the spaceship blocking it, I would have lost my life. Space storm? Xiao Feng raised his head in surprise. The wormhole has such a problem. Yes. After all, the wormhole is a passage opened in the void. It is very easy for a space storm to erupt when the space is shaken. If the wormhole is relatively stable, there is nothing to be afraid of, but if it is like this one that is barely maintained. Just as he said this, the spaceship suddenly shook violently, as if there was a huge storm hitting the ship. This is a space storm. Damn it. The skinny man's face changed greatly, and the dou chi in his hand violently erupted, desperately pouring into the spaceship. I just said a space storm, and a space storm is about to erupt? The corner of Xiao Feng's mouth twitched a few times, and he felt helpless about the skinny man's crow's mouth. The space storm is very dangerous. Once we are sucked in, we don't know where we will be transported to. The skinny man looked a little nervous, and the dou chi in his hand burst out even more brilliantly. The brilliance spread along the spaceship, enveloping the entire ship. I want to speed up and rush over. Be careful. The skinny man roared, and his dou chi crazily poured into the spaceship. The spaceship suddenly jumped and rushed up with a howl. Boom! A dazzling silver light suddenly exploded in front of them, and a huge black hole appeared above the wormhole. An incomparably huge suction force pulled the entire spaceship in. Damn it! He fell into the spatial vortex. The skinny man's face was pale. He pressed his hands on the rudder and frantically poured his dou chi into the spaceship, resisting the constant bombardment of the space storm. Bang! Bang! Silvery bright ripples fiercely struck the spaceship, and the entire spaceship was knocked around in place. Like a leaf falling into a whirlpool, it was quickly pulled into the whirlpool. The spinning speed was so fast that it made people dizzy. Even with Xiao Feng's strength, he was still dizzy from the spinning force. Boom! The rapidly rotating spaceship seemed to have collided with something. After a loud bang, the entire spaceship broke into pieces and turned into debris. Xiao Feng tapped his foot on the ground and jumped out of the broken spaceship. Then, he landed on the ground with a bang. Little brother, are you okay? Without waiting for Xiao Feng to see the situation in front of him, the skinny man hurriedly ran up and asked Xiao Feng with concern. Xiao Feng raised his head and looked at the skinny man. He lightly laughed. Of course I'm okay. But you're not okay. A 4-foot-long Vajra demon subduing pestle suddenly appeared in his hand, and a brilliant golden radiance blossomed. Xiao Feng took a step forward, raised the Vajra demon subduing pestle, and heavily smashed it down at the skinny man. Damn it! The skinny man saw Xiao Feng unhesitatingly injure him, and his face immediately changed. Doqi erupted from his body, and a pitch-black fog surged up. Waves of mournful cries rang out from the black fog. Ding ding! A pitch-black iron chain spiraled up like an angry dragon, and faced Xiao Feng's Vajra demon, subduing pestle. Soul Palace? It's really you guys. Seeing this familiar black fog, Xiao Feng's eyes turned cold, and the golden radiance on the Vajra demon, subduing pestle, shone even more brilliantly. Vajra demon, subduing pestle. The pestle smashed down with a force as heavy as a mountain. The fierce and invincible force was unstoppable. Bang! The pitch-black iron chain instantly shattered, and pieces of it flew everywhere. Ah! The skinny man was directly sent flying by his Xiao Feng strike, and crashed through several walls before heavily falling to the ground. Cough, cough! The pitch-black fog suddenly exploded, and the skinny man violently vomited blood. He supported himself on the ground and violently coughed. You're actually not dead? Looks like you're not weak. Xiao Feng held the Vajra demon, subduing pestle, coldly stared at the skinny man, and walked up step by step. From the moment I saw you, I felt that something was wrong. You guys caused the spatial storm, right? There's a positioning array on the spatial ship, directly opening another spatial wormhole, pulling the spatial ship over. Xiao Feng raised his head and scanned his surroundings. He discovered that he was in a sinister and huge palace. This is the Soul Hall. Xiao Feng curled his lips, raised the Vajra demon, subduing pestle in his hand, and pointed it at the skinny man. You guys schemed to drag me here. What is it for? For what? Of course it's for you. The skinny man coughed up blood, climbed up from the ground, and raised his head to look at Xiao Feng. The northwest region of the continent, where the shrouding Heaven Great Emperor appeared. We didn't dare to go there. It wasn't easy to wait for you to come out. For me? Xiao Feng frowned, and quickly thought of something. The ancient Emperor's jade. For this item, the Soul Hall schemed. Previously, they enticed the Yunlan sect to act, and now they're personally involved? Soul Hall? If that's the case, then I'll trample them. Xiao Feng coldly snorted and raised the Vajra demon, subduing pestle in his hand. Cough, cough. Who said that he only has the strength of a Dohuan? The skinny man ignored the Vajra demon, subduing pestle raised by Xiao Feng, and roared angrily as he coughed up blood. You call this the strength of a Dohuan? Who provided the information? I'm going to kill him. Ha ha ha. A burst of laughter came from all around. Qinghai, you have the strength of a 3-star Dozun, but you were beaten to such a state by a young kid? How embarrassing. As the Vice Hall Master of the Soul Hall in Nether City, you can't even deal with this kid? TSK, TSK. A black fog rolled up, and the dense black fog instantly spread out, covering the entire hall and making it so that one couldn't even see their own fingers. Heavy footsteps sounded. A vast and majestic aura rushed out from the black fog. Chapter 151. 10 people. Xiao Feng clenched his Vajra demon, subduing pestle tightly, and took a deep breath when he saw the faint silhouette within the black fog. These people were emitting a monstrous aura that caused the surrounding Yuan Qi to tremble. Clearly, each of them had extraordinary strength. Xiao Feng, kid, 3 Dozun, 7 Dozon. Haha, Soul Hall really thinks highly of you. The Supreme Elixir Spirit laughed in Xiao Feng's mind. Its voice became louder. Kid, your path to invincibility seems to have met with trouble right from the start. What do you plan to do? What do I do? Of course, I'll crush them. Since he already knew that Soul Hall's goal was the ancient Emperor's jade, why would Xiao Feng waste his breath on them? Vajra protection. Evils will avoid it. The dazzling golden light blossomed. Xiao Feng's body was covered in a simple and heavy golden armor. Facing so many tyrannical enemies, Xiao Feng directly unleashed his strongest power. He wouldn't do something so stupid as to reveal his trump card after fighting for half a day and then make a comeback. What if, before you could make a comeback, you slipped up and got knocked down by someone else? Virtuous draconic force, Vajra strength. A resounding dragon roar soared into the sky, and a golden dragon shadow appeared behind Xiao Feng's back. It was overflowing with divine might, and it was mighty beyond compare. Herculean mountain moving. Golden light flashed. Xiao Feng's skin seemed to be made of gold. He was like a god in golden armor. His vast aura rose again. The surrounding black fog was dispersed by the golden light. Within a radius of 10 feet, the golden light was dazzling. Damn it! What secret technique is this? It's so powerful. Attack! Quick! Take him down. Seeing Xiao Feng's body explode with strange phenomena, the Soul Hall members were shocked. How could they not know that they had encountered a tough opponent? They quickly attacked. In the churning black fog, the mournful cries were even more miserable. Painful human faces kept flashing in the black fog, and the mournful howls were disturbing. Streams of black chi surged up, transforming into pitch-black ghost claws, which swiped down viciously at Xiao Feng. Scram! A thunderous roar rang out. The mighty thunderous roar was filled with the righteous aura of vanquishing evil. It was like a raging tide as it swept out mightily. One after another, the ghostly claws exploded and disappeared into thin air. But was the might of the thunderclap devil vanquishing mantra limited to just this? PFFF, a series of blood-curdling screams and the sound of vomiting blood resounded from within the black fog. Then, the sound of thunder spread out. The black fog that shrouded the hall was like snow meeting the scorching sun under the mighty thunder. The thunder swept across and dissipated. For a moment, Yu clarified. In the midst of this thunderous roar, the black fog that permeated the entire hall actually dissipated. Damn it, what kind of fighting technique was this? It can actually restrain my Soul Palace's technique? The black fog dissipated, and everything became clear. The figures of the Soul Palace people were clearly revealed in front of Xiao Feng. At the front were 3 figures in purple robes. On the left was the skinny man, Qing Hai, who was sent flying by Xiao Feng. In the middle was a white-haired old man in purple robes, and on the right was a green-faced old man. Behind the 3 of them stood 7 figures that had blood seeping out of the corners of their mouths, and their expressions were weary. Clearly, these people were injured by Xiao Feng's thunderous roar. Brat, I didn't expect you to have some ability. Although the Xiao family has declined, it is still one of the 8 ancient families. It still has some foundation. However, you have met me, the star-plucking venerable. You can only... The white-haired old man stared at Xiao Feng, his gloomy eyes emitting a cold intent. You talk too much. Xiao Feng roared and interrupted the star-plucking venerable. A group of scoundrels. Since you dare to provoke me, I'll send you on your way. Boom, boom, boom. His heavy footsteps landed on the ground, causing the entire hall to shake violently. The dazzling golden figure was like an enormous mountain that charged straight at the Soul Palace people. What is this brat's strength? The star-plucking venerable discovered that he couldn't see through Xiao Feng's strength. His expression became very serious, and a bit of fear faintly appeared in his heart. Go! The star-plucking venerable waved his hand behind him, ordering the Soul Palace protectors to go up and block Xiao Feng. The 7 Soul Palace protectors didn't dare disobey. They could only brace themselves and go up. The pitch-black chains were like dragons that whistled through the air. A group of dogs and chickens. The 7 Do Zone Realm protectors working together were still not enough to deal with Xiao Feng. Vajra glare, divine pestle demon vanquishing. A brilliant golden glow exploded. Xiao Feng raised the Vajra demon vanquishing pestle and smashed it at the Soul Palace protectors. Pung! With a wave of the pestle, a protector exploded into a bloody mist in the sky. Pung! 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 Continuously swinging, the Vajra demon vanquishing pestle was like an iron hammer smashing eggs. After activating all of his abilities, Xiao Feng's strength was truly unparalleled. No one could stop him. The mere Do Zone Realm protectors couldn't even withstand a single blow. With a swing of the Vajra demon vanquishing pestle, those that were hit died. This brat is strange. Attack together. The star-plucking venerable instructed the two people beside him. Then, he erupted with Do Qi and attacked. Xiao Feng's unparalleled aura was truly frightening. The star-plucking venerable originally planned on taking advantage of Xiao Feng's entanglement with the seven protectors to launch a sneak attack and take down Xiao Feng. Who would have thought that the seven Do Zone realm protectors couldn't even block a single attack from Xiao Feng? In the blink of an eye, none of them were left. Boom! An enormous black gas charged out of the star-plucking venerable's hand. It transformed into a pitch-black claw that grabbed at Xiao Feng's head. At the same time, Qing Hai pushed with his hands. A pitch-black metal chain whizzed out and swept toward Xiao Feng. It circled around Xiao Feng. Hiss, hiss. The other person waved his hand and released countless black gas that transformed into pitch-black poisonous snakes. They shot towards Xiao Feng like arrows. They were densely packed like a storm. With the three of them working together, one attacked, one controlled, and one interfered. Their coordination was flawless. The main attacking claw could grab Xiao Feng at any time and control him. The controlling metal chain could also turn into a strangling attack at any time. As for the countless black snakes that interfered, they could also merge into a huge snake that could entangle and attack. With the three Do Zuns working together, their moves were endless and invulnerable. However, it was meaningless. Duo. A thunderclap exploded and the sound of thunder shook the world. The might of the thunderclap demon subduing mantra was once again displayed. Once the sound of thunder was heard, all demons were subdued. The powerful and unyielding thunderclap demon subduing mantra was a natural enemy of the Soul Hall's cultivation method that devoured souls. The three people's attacking moves were immediately scattered by the sound of thunder. Unlike the sound of thunder that dispersed the black gas earlier, the sound of thunder this time carried the power to intimidate one's spirit. The star-plucking venerable and the other two were shaken by the sound of thunder. Their eyes turned white. Vajra's glare, divine pestle demon, subduing. The Vajra demon, subduing pestle, emitted a dazzling golden radiance as it ruthlessly smashed towards the three people. Pooh! 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 The three heads exploded into a bloody mist that filled the sky. The headless corpses fell to the ground with a plop. Chapter 152. Not bad. The Grand Pill Spirit laughed loudly in Xiao Feng's mind. Xiao Feng brat. Although the strongest of the three is only a 5-star Do Zone, the few Do Zones aren't even worth mentioning. However, to be able to deal with them so cleanly, your strength isn't too bad. The ring flashed, and the figure of the Grand Pill Spirit appeared in the hall. Turning his head to look around, the Grand Pill Spirit frowned. The resentment here is so heavy that it has never been seen before. This soul hall cultivates evil and demonic techniques. It is really sinful. Brat, let's go. Okay. Xiao Feng turned his head to look at the hall. This dark and gloomy hall was filled with an evil aura, causing Xiao Feng to frown. Especially outside the hall, the square was filled with an evil aura that made people feel nauseous. Looking through the hall door, it was a huge square. Countless pitch-black stone pillars stood erect in the square, and black chains spread out in all directions like a spiderweb. On these chains, there were countless balls of light floating. Inside the balls of light were broken souls that were wailing miserably. It is indeed evil to the extreme. Xiao Feng gritted his teeth and chanted the rebirth mantra. The mantra that was like thunder resounded through the sky. Remove all karma. A bright golden light bloomed like a golden wave. In the surging golden wave, the souls smiled peacefully and disappeared in the golden light. Then they all fell into the hands of the Grand Pill Spirit. This world didn't have the 6 realms of reincarnation. These broken souls had no chance of surviving. Then let them be free. As for the Soul Hall people, the Grand Pill Spirit naturally took them back. Their corpses turned into energy. The souls extracted useful information and decomposed it into pure soul power. Brat, After killing people, of course you have to set them on fire. The Grand Pill Spirit looked at the huge hall and the huge buildings behind it. He smiled at Xiao Feng. You won't leave these houses for the Soul Hall to continue using, right? Of course not. Xiao Feng nodded and waved his hand. The Grand Sun primordial flame rushed out like a raging tide, instantly engulfing the huge group of buildings. The raging flames soared into the sky and dyed half of the sky red. Not long after, the entire building complex was burned to ashes by the blazing true sun fire. Brat, since you already know of Soul Palace's goal, why don't you take the initiative? You don't think they're only targeting you, do you? The Supreme Elixir Spirit turned his head to look at Xiao Feng and reminded him. I already expected this. Xiao Feng nodded with a gloomy expression. Of course, he understood this. Since Soul Palace had acted against him, there would definitely be others who would act against him as well. More importantly, he had just left the Black Corner region and stepped into the spatial wormhole when he was targeted by the people from the Hall of Souls. Someone must have tipped him off. There was definitely a traitor in the Wind Alliance. The Luo family, who controlled the wormhole in Sky Border City, was definitely involved. Teacher, I want to go back. Xiao Feng raised his head to look at the Supreme Elixir Spirit with some worry in his eyes. Teacher, I don't even know where this place is. I don't know how long it will take to find a wormhole to return to the Black Corner region, so I want to ask Teacher to help. No problem. The Supreme Elixir Spirit nodded. You also have the strength of the Do Zun realm. You can actually use the power of space. In the future, I'll teach you how to use the power of space. Now, I'll send you back. As he spoke, the Supreme Elixir Spirit waved his hand, and a spatial tunnel with flowing lights and colorful colors appeared in front of the two of them. It looked somewhat similar to the spatial tunnel opened by the Dragon Clan. In fact, it was almost the same. After the Supreme Elixir Spirit reported Xiao Feng's request to Liu naturally could not let the Supreme Elixir Spirit expose himself. How could the Supreme Elixir Spirit, who had always been unfathomable, not be able to do such a small thing? Therefore, Liu directly let the Supreme Elixir Spirit activate the spatial spell that Liu called the teleportation door that the system had summarized. After recovering the corpses of the 3 Soul Hall Do Zun, the energy extracted was naturally more than enough to activate a teleportation door spell. Let's go. The Supreme Elixir Spirit turned into a ray of light and returned to Xiao Feng's ring. Xiao Feng stepped into the teleportation door. Xiao Feng took a step forward and endless rays of light flew away. In the next moment, Xiao Feng's figure appeared in the Black Corner region's Black Mark City. The system had analyzed the principle of using the power of space and sorted out the teleportation door spell. It was much stronger than the wormhole of this world and the Dragon Clan's spatial tunnel. In the blink of an eye, it could cross thousands of mountains and rivers. Xiao Feng, you're back. Xiao Feng's figure had just appeared when he heard Medusa's surprise cry. Xiao Feng raised his head and saw that Medusa had brought a group of people and surrounded Xiao Feng. The nervous expression on some people's faces had not disappeared even until now. Could it be? Xiao Feng was startled as he hurriedly asked Medusa, "What's going on? Was this place attacked as well?" Yes. The old ground demon ghost and Mo Tianxing suddenly rebelled and tried to attack Xiao Ding and Xiao Li. Fortunately, you left behind a puppet. They did not succeed and were killed by the puppet. Medusa waved her hand and let the surrounding people retreat. Then, she continued to speak to Xiao Feng. Not long after you left, there were many rebellions in various parts of the Black Corner region. Fortunately, with the puppet guarding, these rebellions have been quelled. You said that we were attacked as well? Could it be that you were attacked as well? How are you? Are you hurt? Medusa ran over nervously and carefully looked at Xiao Feng's body for a while. When she found that he was not injured, she heaved a sigh of relief. Mo Tianxing, the old ground demon ghost. Xiao Feng snorted as a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. There's indeed something wrong with those two. I was wondering why they surrendered so easily. So it was a fake surrender. Fortunately, I had already given the puppet the order to kill them immediately if they made any strange movements. This rebellion is very unusual. Medusa's expression was very serious. All the rebels used a strange and evil technique. This technique is very powerful and caught everyone off guard, causing damage everywhere. Xiaofeng, it seems that we have been targeted by some faction. You have to be careful. I know. Xiaofeng nodded. You have to be careful too. This time, we have provoked an organization called the Soul Palace. This faction has targeted our Xiao clan. In the future, you have to bring the puppet to protect you when you go out. Don't let others take advantage of you. Yes, don't worry. I will make the arrangements. Medusa nodded and agreed. Then, she looked at Xiaofeng with worry. I have heard of this Soul Palace organization. It is said that they are very mysterious and very powerful. You have to be careful too. As the two of them were talking, they suddenly heard an anxious shout from outside the door. Xiaofeng, Xiaofeng, something has happened. Something has happened. An anxious voice sounded from outside the door, and a figure rushed in with the aura of a lion's roar. Family head? What happened? What happened? Seeing Xiao Zhan rushing over, Xiao Feng's expression changed. Could something have happened in Wuyuan City? Soul Palace dared to make a move in the place where shrouding Heaven Great Emperor appeared. Chapter 153. Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan is in trouble. Xiao Zhan rushed in and grabbed Xiao Feng, his face full of panic as he spoke to Xiao Feng. Xiao Yan? Something happened to him? What happened to him? Hearing Xiao Zhan's words, Xiao Feng was stunned and didn't come back to his senses. Wasn't Xiao Yan at Jialan Academy? What happened to him? Xiao Yan is missing. Xiao Zhan was so worried that his forehead was covered in sweat. I came here 2 days ago to see the situation. Last night, Xiao Yan came out of Jialan Academy, and we met before he went back to Jialan Academy. Speaking up to here, Xiao Zhan's expression became even more agitated. However, Xiao Sun Air just told me that Xiao Yan didn't go back. Xiao Yan is missing. Xiao Yan is missing. Last night? Missing? Xiao Feng's expression changed, and his eyebrows tightly creased. He immediately comforted Xiao Zhan. Uncle, don't worry. Maybe he had something to do and didn't have time to say anything. Don't worry. Xiao Feng obviously could guess that Xiao Yan's situation was related to Soul Palace. However, in order to not let Xiao Zhan worry too much, he could only comfort him like this. No, it's not like that. Xiao Zhan's face was a bit pale. He took out a letter from his bosom and handed it to Xiao Feng. Xiao Feng, Yaner was kidnapped. They want me to use the Xiao family's ancient jade to exchange for him. Kidnapped? Xiao Feng took a deep breath and said in his heart, as expected. Opening the letter, he saw that the contents were indeed for the Xiao family to use the ancient jade to exchange for Xiao Yan. Oomph. Xiao Feng snorted coldly. With a shake of his hand, the letter turned into ashes. Uncle, don't worry. Since the other party wants us to ransom him, Cousin Xiao Yan will definitely be fine. I hope so. Xiao Zhan shook his head dejectedly. He took out a piece of ancient jade and handed it to Xiao Feng. Xiao Feng, this is our Xiao family's heirloom jade. I'm giving it to you. You must help me bring Yin back. Yes. Uncle, don't worry. I will definitely bring my cousin back safely. Xiao Feng put away the ancient jade and nodded solemnly at Xiao Zhan. I'll leave everything to you. Xiao Zhan patted Xiao Feng's shoulder and looked deeply at Xiao Feng. Looking at the young man who had been looked down upon in the past, but had now become the family's pillar, Xiao Zhan was filled with emotion. Yin, your friendship with Xiao Feng is the best thing you've done in your life. After sending off Xiao Zhan, Xiao Feng didn't rush to the central region. To resist the outside, he had to settle the inside. He had been ambushed by the Soul Palace. The Black Corner region had revolted, and Xiao Yan had been kidnapped. All of this meant that the Wind Alliance had been infiltrated by the Soul Palace. If it didn't dig out the tumor, how could Xiao Feng be at ease and leave? Kalen, go gather all the managers who are in charge of this area. There's a spy within us. Xiao Feng ordered Medusa, and his face became very gloomy. A spy? Medusa nodded. Okay, I'll immediately gather all the managers here. Not long after, all the managers arrived at the City Lord's Mansion's Great Hall. There were over 100 managers who were in charge of the various areas of the Black Corner region. There were people from the Shao family, the Snakeman race, and the promoted Black Corner region natives. I've gathered everyone today for no other reason. It's only because I want to find the spy hidden within us. Xiao Feng straightforwardly stated his objective. Spy. There's a spy among us. Hearing Xiao Feng's words, there was an uproar below. Don't be nervous. Xiao Feng waved his hand. I won't wrong anyone. Duo. He opened his mouth and let out a loud roar. The mighty sound of thunder engulfed the entire great hall. After the thunder sound devil-subduing mantra had reached large success, Xiao Feng could control the thunder sound as he wished. The thunder sound he released now only had the power of evil punishing, which was only targeted at the Soul Palace's evil technique of absorbing souls. If the Soul Palace wanted to plant a spy, they definitely had to have control methods and give benefits. To the Soul Palace, giving out the technique of absorbing souls was both a method of control and a benefit. It was very convenient. Therefore, it was very likely that the spy left in the Wind Alliance had cultivated the Soul Palace's evil technique. As expected, the moment Xiao Feng's evil punishing thunder sound was released, over a dozen people in the crowd below emitted black gas. They held their heads and screamed. Damn it! Seeing these figures emitting black gas, everyone understood what was going on. The people who rebelled a few days ago were all shrouded in black gas. How similar was the situation in front of them? Truly extremely shameful. What made Xiao Feng and Medusa's heart ache was that amongst the figures emitting black gas, there were not only Shao family clansmen, but also Medusa's clansmen. Shua. Medusa's eyes emitted a cold light. She waved her hand and released a 7-colored haze. It was like a dragon that circled around these traitors. These traitors fell to the ground with a plop and no longer made a sound. The traitors have been killed. Return to your positions. Xiao Feng waved his hand and dismissed his subordinates. This purge couldn't guarantee that all the spies in the Wind Alliance were eliminated. After all, it was very likely that some of the spies didn't cultivate the Soul Palace's techniques and were controlled by Soul Palace through other methods. However, there were very few people like that. As long as they strengthened their surveillance, they wouldn't be able to cause any trouble. Kalen, I'll leave the Wind Alliance to you. Xiao Feng looked at Medusa with a serious expression. Soul Palace's influence is enormous. Although they don't dare to invade the Northwest Territory because of shrouding Heaven Great Emperor, we still have to prevent them from doing anything. You have to be careful. I know. Medusa nodded in agreement. However, her face carried worry. You're going to Central State alone. You have to be careful too. Don't worry. Xiao Feng smiled at Medusa and patted his chest. My strength isn't bad. Also, don't I have teacher? Teacher? Medusa felt relieved, and a faint smile appeared on her face. She had heard of Xiao Feng's mysterious teacher for a long time. He seemed to be omnipotent. Medusa also had some confidence in the teacher that Xiao Feng spoke of. I'll leave the Wind Alliance to you. I'm leaving. Xiao Feng waved his hand at Medusa and turned to leave the City Lord's mansion. After leaving the City Lord's mansion, Xiao Feng flew into the sky and landed on a mountain outside Blackmark City. Teacher, I'll have to trouble you again. Xiao Feng looked at the ring in his hand and said softly, Teacher, the letter said that we have to send the ancient Emperor's jade to the Departed Soul Mountain Range. Do you know where the Departed Soul Mountain Range is? The Departed Soul Mountain Range is in the northwest of Central State. There's a Soul Palace branch there. I believe that the Soul Palace people want you to go there to exchange. Supreme Pill Spirit's figure flashed out of the ring. Xiao Feng brat. Soul Palace even has a Do Sheng expert. If you can't quickly become a Do Sheng, you'll be in danger. Since teacher said so, there must be a way. Xiao Feng, who was very familiar with Supreme Pill Spirit's temper, naturally understood that his teacher wanted to give him benefits again. Yes. Supreme Pill Spirit nodded. I'll point you to a place. Go there and train. After becoming a Do Sheng, you can directly trample Soul Palace. The Supreme Elixir Spirit waved her hand, and a colorful spatial tunnel appeared in front of Xiao Feng. Chapter 154. This is the Skeleton Mountain Range. Stepping out of the space tunnel, Xiao Feng saw the white Skeleton Mountain Range in front of him. He was slightly stunned. Teacher, you said that the place to advance to the Battle Sage is here? Is it the ancient ruins from last time? Of course not. The Grand Pill Spirit smiled. This time, we have to go to the underground Yellow Spring. Underground Yellow Spring? What is that place? Xiao Feng was obviously stunned. Underground? Is it under the ground? How do I go in? I definitely won't let you dig a hole to go in. The Grand Pill Spirit laughed. You can only open a space tunnel to go in. I will hide your aura. Be careful. This is the sacred place of the 9 Abyss Python, the hometown of your little wife. There are battle sages. Don't get caught. Medusa's hometown? A smile appeared on Xiao Feng's face. So Medusa's snake people tribe moved out from here? Are all her people here? Stop dreaming. They won't treat you as their son-in-law. If you are discovered, they will definitely kill you. The Grand Pill Spirit ruthlessly ridiculed Xiao Feng. Hee hee. Xiao Feng laughed dryly and did not dare to reply. All right, stop talking nonsense. Let's go. A spiritual light flashed on the ring. An invisible wave covered the surroundings, covering the vibration of the space force. The Grand Pill Spirit showed his figure and pulled a space tunnel in front of Xiao Feng. Xiao Feng took a deep breath and stepped into the spatial passageway. Endless streams of light flew by, and in the next instant, Xiao Feng's figure appeared in a pitch-black underground space. With the system covering his aura and the vibration of the space force, Xiao Feng came to the sacred place of the 9 Abyss Python without anyone noticing. In front of him was a vast and boundless lake. The surroundings were extremely cold. A chill that seemed to freeze one's soul pervaded the pitch-black underground abyss. Even with Xiao Feng's current cultivation, he felt cold all over. The lake water was dark yellow, and within this dark yellow color, there seemed to be traces of blood-like color flowing through it. Red and yellow streams of air were constantly being emitted from the lake. They meandered as they soared into the sky. Teacher, is this the 9 nether yellow springs you mentioned? Looking at the yellow lake, Xiao Feng smiled and nodded. Slowly walking closer, Xiao Feng felt an obscure cold power continuously seeping into his body, and he could feel the coldness seeping into his bones. Xiao Feng's diamond body had reached small success, and he had the power of immovable mountain. Under this bone-piercing cold, although he felt a little cold, it was just a little cold. Next, is it going to be the same as that time in the lightning reservoir? Are you going to take a bath again? Xiao Feng smiled and shook his head. He already understood a little about the plan of the supreme alchemy spirit. Yes. Tempering your body in the 9 nether yellow springs will not only allow you to achieve great success in your diamond body, but it will also allow you to refine all of Xiao Xian's power. With this, you can break through the realm and become a dosheng. The supreme alchemy spirit nodded and pointed at the 9 nether yellow springs. Go down. After you become a dosheng, it will be time for you to flatten the Hall of Souls. Yes. Xiao Feng nodded and took a deep breath. He stepped into the 9 nether yellow springs. Chi, like a piece of red-hot iron falling into the water. A sizzling sound erupted from the turbid yellow lake water. Waves of water mist surged, and a bone-piercing cold air poured into his body. Xiao Feng felt that his body was about to freeze, and a layer of ice crystals had already formed on his body. As expected of the 9 nether yellow springs, the cold power is actually so terrifying. Xiao Feng's face was grave. The cold power contained in the 9 nether yellow springs was extremely powerful. Even with the diamond body at small success, Xiao Feng still felt that his hands and feet were a little numb. The do qi that was originally rolling in his body had slowed down. This cold power can be used to refine the diamond body. Xiao Feng found a place to sit cross-legged in the shallow water by the lake. He circulated the mountain-moving scripture and used the cold power of the 9 nether yellow springs to refine his body. At the same time, the supreme alchemy spirit extracted Xiao Xian's power and poured it into Xiao Feng's body. While refining his body in the 9 nether cold springs, it continued to raise Xiao Feng's cultivation. Xiao Feng continued to absorb Xiao Xian's power as he cultivated. Until today, he still could not finish absorbing it. The ancestor of the Xiao clan, Xiao Xian, was a peak Do Sheng and had once tried to break through to the Do Di realm. Although he had failed, his power was still very terrifying. If Xiao Feng could use the opportunity of the 9 nether yellow springs to refine his body and absorb Xiao Xian's power, it would not be a problem for him to become a Do Sheng. Xiao Feng sat cross-legged in the lake water. The cold power crazily washed Xiao Feng's body. His body, which seemed to be made of gold, became even more radiant under the washing of the 9 nether yellow springs. If the supreme alchemy spirit had not concealed this phenomenon, the 9 abyss python would have discovered the abnormality. Phew! A white turbid air spurted out and was instantly frozen into ice mist by the cold power of the 9 nether yellow springs. Xiao Feng opened his eyes and stood up. The bones all over his body emitted a thunderous sound as a powerful force surged and churned in his body. The 9 nether yellow springs is indeed extraordinary. Xiao Feng moved his limbs and nodded in admiration. My diamond body has improved a lot in this short period of time. The cold air by the lake is not strong enough. If you want to break through and become a Do Sheng, you must go to the bottom of the lake. The supreme alchemy spirit waved his hand. Go down quickly. Break through as soon as possible. I understand. Xiao Feng nodded his head and walked towards the lake. His head sank into the lake. The deeper he sank, the more tyrannical the cold power became. It was pitch black all around. The endless cold power crazily washed Xiao Feng's body. Crash! Just as he touched the ground, a subtle sound suddenly entered his ears. Xiao Feng suddenly noticed that there was an abnormal movement in the water behind him. Xiao Feng's heart tightened. He waved his hand and slammed it down. Bang! The tyrannical palm force suddenly cut the water and fiercely bombarded a black shadow. The black shadow instantly exploded into a pool of dirty blood. There are still living creatures in the 9 nether yellow springs? A trace of surprise flashed through Xiao Feng's eyes as he looked at the creature that had been blasted into a ball of blood. The cold energy here was so strong that even his diamond body found it difficult to endure. There were actually creatures here? It's just a few snakes. The supreme alchemy spirit laughed. This thing has no special ability other than being naturally resistant to cold. Oh, right, they can also spit out cold air, which is very good for your body refining. This, as he said that, Xiao Feng suddenly felt the water flow become agitated. Following that, the sound of water rang out. A dense group of snakes swept over like a black cloud. Huh! The supreme alchemy spirit laughed strangely. Kid, free massage, enjoy it. Chi-chi. As soon as the supreme alchemy spirit's voice fell, the snake instantly spat out countless dark black water arrows. The dense water arrows carried a bone-chilling coldness as they flew toward Xiao Feng. Massage? Xiao Feng obviously did not understand this term, but he also guessed the supreme alchemy spirit's meaning. Do I really have to take it head-on? Looking at the pitch-black water arrows flying towards him, Xiao Feng felt his scalp tingle. These water arrows came from the same source as the cold power of the 9 nether yellow springs. However, it was even more condensed. Then let's take it. Xiao Feng clenched his fists tightly. His entire body flashed with a golden light, allowing the dense water arrows to hit his body. Chapter 155. Bang, bang, bang. The dense water arrows bombarded Xiao Feng's body continuously like raindrops hitting banana leaves. The water arrows exploded under the impact, and a huge, icy power erupted. Endless amounts of icy cold energy continued to accumulate. In a moment, Xiao Feng's body surface was covered with a thick layer of ice, and his entire body was frozen into a huge ice cube. Even with Xiao Feng's strong defense, it seemed that even his blood was frozen. Bang, bang, bang. The heavy heartbeat was like a huge drum, and the mighty qi and blood followed the heartbeat like a torrential river, rolling down. At the same time, the huge battle qi in Xiao Feng's body instantly boiled. Under this extreme coldness, his body and do qi were thoroughly refined. The Herculean mountain-moving scripture ran wildly, and the supreme elixir spirit continuously poured Xiao Xian's power into him. Xiao Feng's cultivation continued to increase. Crack! Not long after, the ice on Xiao Feng's body surface exploded and splashed everywhere. Crash! There was another wave of water. Chi-chi! The dense water arrows were like raindrops that blotted out the sky and covered the earth. Damn it! Again? Xiao Feng's eyebrows twitched, and his expression was somewhat helpless. The Een snake is very vengeful. You kill the Een snake, of course they won't let you go. So, kid, continue to enjoy. Bang, bang, bang. Explosions sounded, and Xiao Feng was once again frozen into ice. This continued until Xiao Feng broke out of the ice once again and was met with a rain of water arrows that blotted out the sky. This happened again and again, and when Xiao Feng himself did not know how many times he had been baptized by the dense water arrows, he suddenly realized that the water arrows hitting his body had no effect on him. The dense water arrows hit his body, and other than the slight touch like raindrops, Xiao Feng did not feel anything at all. Raising his hand in front of his eyes, Xiao Feng suddenly realized that his skin had become as white as jade. When he activated the Vajra body god art, the golden skin color that looked like it was cast from gold had turned into normal skin color. As the body of the diamond reached the great accomplishment stage, Xiao Feng clenched his fists tightly. A series of crackling sounds came from all over his body like muffled thunder. Boundless and vast energy surged within his body like a raging tide. Yes, Supreme Pill Spirit chuckled. Brat, these freeing snakes have helped you a lot. You have already cultivated the diamond body and truly have the body of a strong man. Great, Xiao Feng chuckled. Even a shadow snake, who was still shooting water arrows, seemed to be pleasing to the eye. The great accomplishment stage of the diamond body meant that Xiao Feng's mountain-moving power and immovable mountain had reached the great accomplishment stage. In addition to the dragon elephant Vajra divine strength that had fused with the dragon soul and the thunder demon subduing mantra that had reached the great accomplishment stage in a lightning pool, Xiao Feng already had 4 great accomplishment divine abilities. The only one that had not reached the great accomplishment stage was the Vajra blessing mantra, because his strength was not enough to cast the great accomplishment stage. As long as Xiao Feng advanced to the saint realm, he would have enough strength to cast the mantra and be able to reach the great accomplishment stage of the Vajra blessing mantra. Therefore, the next step was to break through the realm and advance to the saint realm. Xiao Feng brat, your Vajra body has reached the great accomplishment stage. I don't have to worry about you exploding. Supreme Pill Spirit's figure flashed out of the ring and chuckled at Xiao Feng. Brat, get ready. I will pass on the remaining power of Xiao Xian to you through the inheritance method. It will help you break through the realm and become a saint. Thank you, teacher. Xiao Feng found a rock nearby and sat down cross-legged. He calmed his mind and prepared to receive the imparting of power. Focus. It's about to begin. Supreme Pill Spirit waved his hand and directly extracted the remaining power of Xiao Xian from the small resource vault in the ring and poured it into Xiao Feng's body. Boom! It was as if the Milky Way was hanging upside down. Vast and majestic power suddenly rushed into Xiao Feng's body. Xiao Feng felt as if a boundless ocean had been stuffed into his body. Monstrous waves were set off in this ocean of battle qi. Raging waves rolled and surged. Boundless mighty power violently attacked Xiao Feng's body. This power was too powerful. Even though the Supreme Pill Spirit had extracted pure battle qi energy and eliminated all attributes in Xiao Xian's personal imprint, this battle qi energy was still too much for Xiao Feng. If not for his body of the guardian deity, Xiao Feng felt that he would have exploded the moment this energy entered his body. Even now, Xiao Feng felt that he could explode from this energy at any time. Calm your mind and guide the qi to return to the origin. 9 rounds of battle qi and become a saint immediately. Xiao Feng calmed his mind and continued to guide his battle qi to merge and devour the battle qi ocean in his body, constantly strengthening his cultivation. The 9 underworld's yellow springs gradually became silent. After an unknown period of time, a figure sitting cross-legged at the bottom of the lake suddenly opened his eyes. A brilliant golden light appeared. It was extremely bright and holy. The dark bottom of the lake was illuminated by this golden radiance. The majestic and vast aura set off monstrous waves in the entire 9 underworld's yellow springs. This time, the Supreme Elixir Spirit did not conceal this majestic aura, nor did it conceal this earth-shattering scene. This was because Xiao Feng had already become a saint. With 5 great superpowers, Xiao Feng's strength was enough to dominate the world, even though he had just entered the saint level. In the 9 underworld's yellow springs, the 9 underworld's python's lair, this undisguised vast aura soared into the sky and alarmed countless people. In a vast palace far away from the 9 underworld's yellow springs. At this moment, many leaders of the snake people tribes were gathered here. They were chatting and drinking merrily. Their laughter reverberated within the large hall. On the throne in the main hall, a man dressed in black sat high above. The man was handsome, but there was an unconcealable gloominess between his brows. As his eyes opened and closed, a glow flickered. It was like a poisonous snake choosing its prey, causing people to feel a chill. Beside the man, 2 enchanting women were carefully massaging his body. The 2 women had exquisite figures and a sweet smile. They looked unusually charming. Boom! An explosion sounded in the air. It seemed that a vast aura had swept across like a furious tide. The black-clothed man on the throne was startled. He suddenly opened his eyes, and shock flashed across them. This aura? Saint? Damn it! That direction. An old man in a red robe suddenly stood up below the man. He turned his head and looked in the direction of the 9 underworld's yellow springs. 9 underworld's yellow springs? Could it be him? The black-clothed man suddenly stood up. He turned his head and looked in the direction of the 9 underworld's yellow springs. His expression had become icy cold. What? How is this possible? The old man's expression changed drastically. Damn it. Quick, go. Don't let him escape. Relax. He will never be able to make a comeback. The black-clothed man smiled sinisterly. His body moved and disappeared from the throne. Chapter 156. Is this the Battle Sage realm? Xiao Feng's body shook, and a huge force shook away the water of the 9 underworld's yellow springs, creating a waterless area at the bottom of the lake. Xiao Feng was overjoyed when he saw that his every move was so powerful. Save, save, save me. A faintly discernible call entered Xiao Feng's ears. What's going on? Someone is calling for help? Xiao Feng was shocked and quickly looked in the direction of the voice. The dark bottom of the lake was illuminated by the divine light on Xiao Feng's body. However, after Xiao Feng looked around, he didn't see anyone. What's going on? Xiao Feng furrowed his brows, and his fighting aura surged. He knew that he didn't hear wrongly. After advancing to the Do Sheng class, not even the slightest movement could escape his eyes. He heard the voice, but didn't see anyone. Then, the only possibility was that this person couldn't move. Since he was calling for help, then someone was imprisoned at the bottom of the 9 underworld's yellow springs? Thinking of this, Xiao Feng was speechless. He had experienced the power of the 9 underworld's yellow springs. Being imprisoned at the bottom of the 9 underworld's yellow springs, this person was still alive? It seemed that his cultivation wasn't weak. Xiao Feng's mind moved, and he released his senses. Is it here? Xiao Feng took a few steps forward and extended his hand to grab at the mud at the bottom of the lake. Crash! As the sand and stones rolled, a huge iron chain that was 100 feet long was pulled out by Xiao Feng. Crash! As the iron chain was pulled out, the other places suddenly shook. 3 more huge iron chains rose from the mud. These iron chains were connected to the huge mountain in the surroundings. He's buried in the mud. Xiao Feng looked along the iron chains and saw a huge lump of black mud in the middle of the 4 chains. Being imprisoned at the bottom of the 9 underworld's yellow springs and buried in the mud, he can still survive. What a vigorous life force. Looking at the pile of sludge, Xiao Feng waved his hand. A gust of wind flew out and scattered the sludge, revealing a chained figure. It was a shriveled figure that looked like a skeleton. This aura should be the strength of the Do Sheng class. Even a Do Sheng had been captured and locked at the bottom of the lake. The 9 Abyss Python clan is so powerful. Looking at the skeleton-like figure, Xiao Feng's eyes flashed with surprise. TSK, how could the 9 Abyss Python be so powerful? Can't this person break through in the 9 underworlds? The Supreme Elixir Spirit, who had already returned to the ring, sneered in Xiao Feng's mind. Is that so? Xiao Feng nodded secretly. Since he could break through in the 9 underworlds, this person might be able to as well. Save me. Save me. The skeleton-like figure suddenly moved. In the deep eye sockets, a pair of dark green eyes suddenly opened and stared at Xiao Feng crazily and expectantly. I am the 9 Abyss Python Master. If you save me, my 9 Abyss Python clan will follow your orders and be at your disposal. The skeleton-like figure struggled and pulled at the surrounding iron chains. A crazy and hoarse roar sounded at the bottom of the yellow springs like the wailing of ghosts and howling of wolves. 9 Abyss Python Master? Xiao Feng frowned slightly and asked the Supreme Elixir Spirit in his mind. Teacher, have you heard of the 9 Abyss Python Master? What Abyss Python Master? He is just the clan leader of the 9 Abyss Python clan. The reason he was locked up here is probably the result of some internal power struggle. The Supreme Elixir Spirit snorted disdainfully and continued. However, you are about to fight with the Soul Hall. It is not bad to get the 9 Abyss Python clan to be your fighter. You could do as you see fit. Thank you, teacher, for your guidance. Xiao Feng nodded and turned his head to look at the skeleton-like figure. Who are you? Huff huff. The skeleton-like figure let out a long breath. It seemed that the struggle from before had consumed a lot of his strength, and his entire body was extremely weak. So, it is because of the iron chains? Xiao Feng lowered his head and looked at the 4 huge chains that locked the skeleton-like figure. Within the iron chains, there was an endless stream of extremely cold energy that consumed the skeleton-like figure's Do Qi, causing him to be in an extremely weak state. At the same time, there was another stream of life force that slowly merged into the skeleton-like figure's body, hanging on to his life, causing him to live a life worse than death. How vicious! Xiao Feng could not help but sigh and shake his head. I am the clan leader of the 9 Abyss Deep Ground Python clan. My name is Yao Ming. A moment later, the skeleton-like figure caught his breath and spoke to Xiao Feng. His voice was dry and hoarse, like rough sand rubbing against the ground. Save me. Yao Ming raised his withered head and looked pleadingly at Xiao Feng. Please save me. As long as you save me, I'll agree to anything you want. All right. Xiao Feng nodded. It won't be difficult to save you, but I need a subordinate. A subordinate? A trace of struggle flashed across Yao Ming's eyes. He then clenched his teeth and nodded heavily. I agree. Very good. Relax your mind and don't resist. Xiao Feng smiled and nodded. His eyes were tightly fixed on Yao Ming's eyes. In Xiao Feng's eyes, 3 dark golden symbols that looked like flower petals slowly began to spin. Triple jade flower eyes? Yao Ming was shocked when he saw Xiao Feng's eyes. Following which, he let out a long sigh as if he had accepted his fate and allowed Xiao Feng to do as he pleased. In the blink of an eye, the 3 flower petals flashed across Yao Ming's eyes. From this moment on, Yao Ming would never be able to escape Xiao Feng's control. How can I save you? Since he had already subdued Yao Ming, Xiao Feng naturally had to save this powerful fighter. I'm trapped here mainly because I'm being suppressed by the underworld Yin Stone. As long as I can remove the chains from the underworld Yin Stone, I'll be able to escape. Yao Ming turned his head to look at the pitch-black rock the size of a small mountain that the chains were connected to. Underworld Yin Stone. Xiao Feng raised his foot and walked to the front of this mountain-like boulder. The huge rock contained an extremely cold aura. Waves of cold air emanated from it. Even with Xiao Feng's complete diamond body, he felt the cold penetrating his bones. Brat, just take it away. This old man is rather interested in this thing. Xiao Feng was just about to take out his diamond staff and smash the rock when he suddenly heard the Supreme Pill Spirit's words and hurriedly stopped. Take it. This disciple understands. Xiao Feng waved his hand at the underworld Yin Stone. The huge underworld Yin Stone instantly disappeared. With a clink, the chains that were binding Yao Ming fell to the ground. This is when Yao Ming saw that Xiao Feng had resolved the problem that had troubled him for countless years with a wave of his hand. He was pleasantly surprised. He was completely in awe of Xiao Feng. Thank you, Master. Thank you, Master. Once the underworld Yin Stone was gone, Yao Ming was immediately freed from his shackles. He laughed wildly in joy and knelt in front of Xiao Feng, kowtowing repeatedly in thanks. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.